Well, yesterday a jump team from the Sons of the Flag Burn Foundation completed a skydive in order to bring us the coin used for today's coin toss. That jump featured a veteran from every war since World War II performing a tandem skydive with a member of the Army Golden Knights. Sons of the Flag, a nonprofit organization committed to support military, first responder, and civilian burn survivors. And just moments ago, coin was presented to former U.S. Navy SEAL and Executive Director of Sons of Flag the Burn Foundation, Ryan Birdman Parrott, and former U.S. Army Ranger and inspiration for Sons of the Flag, Sam Brown, and referee Ed Hockley presented the coin used in the coin toss, which was won by the Cleveland Browns, and they deferred, so they will kick to the Dallas Cowboys. And what do you think about that decision right off the bat, Dan?
Well, I just think it shows that they're more comfortable starting on defense, that they've got more confidence in their defensive unit. And, you know, a lot of times on the road, coaches will elect to do that, thinking that on the road in a tough environment that there are fewer nerves involved in opening up defensively.
Lance Dunbar is set to receive the kick, upcoming from Phil Dawson, and we are underway at Cowboy Stadium. Dunbar will not run this one out of the end zone, and the Cowboys will begin at their own 20-yard line. And Tony Romo is the Dallas quarterback, 12 touchdown passes, his 13 interceptions, the most in the NFL, but he is a playmaker, about as accurate as they come, and watch him extend the play if they don't contain him in the pocket.
It's just so out of character to see Romo with more interceptions than touchdowns. Keep in mind, last year he was 31 touchdowns against only 10 interceptions.
Felix Jones in the backfield behind Romo on first down. And Jones gets the handoff and makes it back to the line of scrimmage, and no more. On the offensive line, center Phil Costa is out. Mackenzie Bernardo moves over from right guard, and Derek Dockery takes his spot. Romo has the full complement of receivers, and that includes the talented third-year wide receiver Dez Bryant out of Oklahoma State.
Well, Bernardo is actually the third center. Costa is out, but then his backup Ryan Cook is out. He's got to slide over from guard.
Romo to throw on second down over the middle, and out across the 25 to the 30-yard line is the tight end Jason Witten. On defense, Cleveland gets a boost up front with the return of Ataba Rubin. He missed the last 2 games with a sore calf. Leader on D, DeQuell Jackson, a team-high 70 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 picks, one of which he returned for a touchdown. And the terrific third-year cornerback Joe Hayden strained an oblique muscle this week at practice. He is out, and Buster Screen, in his second year out of Chattanooga, replaces him on the corner.
If this Dallas offensive line is able to control this defensive line of the Browns are in big trouble.
Romo on the move, throws in the flats, and complete and out of bounds just about the 35-yard line is Felix Jones.
Well, no surprise to see Tony Romo on the move. His athleticism is off the charts. He's very comfortable on the run, and I think everyone in Dallas is more comfortable watching him on a designed run than when he does have to improvise. But when he decides to improvise, I know Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, there's a bunch of guys in this league that do it pretty well. Tony's right there with him.
2nd and 4. This is Jones. Jones out to about the 38-yard line. You know, Jason Garrett told us yesterday that if the run is there, I don't mind running it again and again and again.
He said, let's not kid ourselves. I know I used to play quarterback. I would run it every play of the game if I could. And it makes everything so much easier. Since DeMarco Murray has been out, and now this is the 5th game that he's missed with that foot sprain, their running game has really sputtered. I mean, what's it say? DeMarco Murray now is missing his 5th game. He's still the leading rusher on this team. Jones hasn't been able to overtake him yet.
3rd and 2. Romo. And there is a complete and total miscommunication. Kevin Ogletree was the nearest receiver, but he wasn't that close at all.
Well, again, it's a reading of the coverage by both quarterback and receiver. Ogletree is all the way up there on the sideline, and you can see instead of breaking to the post, he broke off his route. And that is, again, just painfully obvious. Quarterback and receiver saw 2 different things.
Josh Cribbs is deep. 3 career punt return touchdowns. That's a pretty poor kick. And it's going to go out of bounds short of the 25-yard line. When we come back, the 29-year-old rookie quarterback, Brandon Weeden, gets his shot. Welcome back to Arlington, Texas. At the very top of the day, Dan, I said this magnificent structure, and I think I underestimated it a little bit. This is something.
Yeah, this stadium is when you come here for the first time, it's pretty eye-popping.
First down from the 28-yard line. And this is Richardson. Richardson wheeled down from behind at about the line of scrimmage, and there is the rookie quarterback. Baptism by fire for the 29-year-old. 9 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions, coming up on 2,100 yards passing on the season.
I know a lot of you went, well, I thought he was 28. No, he was 28 when he was drafted. He's already turned 29. He turned 29 last month. Joe Thomas, the left tackle, been in here 6 years, and he said, I'm younger than our rookie quarterback.
Weeden to throw. Has time. Got his man out across the 40 to the 42, and that's Greg Little for a first down.
Well, nice job here by Little of going up and getting this football. A little behind him, a little high, and yet he exposes those ribs and goes up and gets it. Now he ended up not taking a big hit. Albright goes by him here and really doesn't put a big shot on him.
And right now, Danny McCray, the Dallas safety, is down on the field and looked at. And while they do that, we'll step out and come back after this.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. Verizon, more 4G LTE coverage than all other networks combined. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
Welcome back. There is Danny McCray leaving the field. 2 tackles on the first 2 plays of this drive, and it costs him a trip to the sideline and the locker room. That is an overthrow of Josh Cribbs. And McCray is replaced in the secondary by number 26, Charlie Peppra, the 7th-year DB out of Alabama.
And the Cowboys are getting down here on strong safeties. Keep in mind that Danny McCray was playing in there for Rob Ryan because Barry Church, their starting strong safety, he tore his Achilles the 3rd game of the year against Tampa. So Charlie Peppra was on the street. They signed him late last month, the 24th of October. And here he is now. He's out on the field having to play.
2nd and 10. Richardson for a couple to about the 44. Up front should be a battle royal. One of the best left tackles in football. Joe Thomas will be up against DeMarcus Ware. And the Browns will need a big game from that outstanding rookie running back Trent Richardson despite his sore ribs. But Trent Richardson has all the signs of being a dandy. And there's Pat Shurmur, the 2nd-year head coach for the Cleveland Browns. 3rd and 7. And a little noise from the Cowboy crowd for the first time today. Weeden steps up, throwing sideline, got his man out of bounds, and that is Josh Cooper on the far side.
Oh, and they're saying he stepped out of bounds short of the marker.
That's a no-no. You got to find the first down marker.
He tried at the last minute to, he caught it out of the corner of his eye, and he tried to, watch how he's going to try to step across the marker, but he breaks off his pattern and just, that's a good job by the official. They got that spot correctly, and that is just the wrong route, a yard short run by the rookie.
Dwayne Harris is deep for the upcoming kick from Reggie Hodges. He hangs it up nicely. Fair catch called for. Juggled, but made at about the 13-yard line. 10:19 to play. The scoreless first quarter. In honor of Veterans Day, for every point scored during the NFL Salute to Service games, the league will donate $100 to each of its nonprofit partners, the Pat Tillman Foundation, USO, and Wounded Warrior Project. To join the salute and learn more, visit NFL.com/salute. That's a good thing to do. Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, and the rest of our crew back here at Cowboy Stadium. 10 minutes, 19 seconds remaining in the first quarter. The Cowboys start from their own 14-yard line.
Right 80! What is the...
Romo into the flat. Penalty marker is down as the pass is incomplete. Intended for Felix Jones. And this looks like a hold against the Cowboys.
Holding, offense, number 76. Half the distance to the goal. Repeat first down.
That's Derek Dockery.
Well, Derek Dockery right there in the middle, number 76. Oh, you see the pretty good grab he gets right there on Hughes. And keep in mind, Dockery's in the lineup because the normal right guard, Bernardo, has slid over to play center. So the inside of this Dallas Cowboys offensive line has been in a state of flux with the injuries to Costa and Cook and all the adjustments they're having to make. And Barrett reared its ugly head.
Dallas, second most penalties in the National Football League coming into this game. This is Jones. Just across the 10-yard line. Our first update of the day. JP and Coach
Greg and Dan, Washington on the board first.
Yeah, RG3 finds Darrell Young in the end zone, 6 yards. Just came off a Nick Foles interception, and the Washington Redskins 7-0 really lead over Philly.
All right, back to Greg Gumbel and Dan Deerdorf.
All right, guys, and the Redskins at the bottom looking up along with the Philadelphia Eagles in that NFC East. 2nd and 12, Romo. Outside, Jason Witten caught more passes than anybody else in Dallas Cowboys history.
Well, when you've thrown a couple incompletions and you just need something to feel good about, if you're number 9, Tony Romo, try to find Jason Witten, because chances are you're going to come up with a completion. For such a big man at 6'6", such soft, supple hands, very reminiscent of Tony Gonzalez. It's almost effortless. That catch is anything but effortless. But Witten makes it look so.
7 consecutive Pro Bowls for number 82. On 3rd and 4, Romo. Outside, incomplete. Intended again for Witten, but Eric Hagg, number 27, was there defending.
Yeah, that had no chance of being completed because of the coverage for the Browns. A couple of disappointing series to get this game started for the Cowboys.
So once again, Josh Cribbs drops back between his 30 and 35-yard line.
I think we all know what he's capable of doing in the return game.
Cribbs, number 32. 45, midfield and into Dallas territory. Pretty good return and be good field position for the Cleveland Browns and Brandon Weeden when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by KFC. Come in today and taste why fresh is better.
There's Pat Shurmur, the second-year head coach of the Cleveland Browns, who suddenly, because of the change in ownership, Dan, of the Cleveland Browns, is on the hot seat now.
Yeah, well, he really is, and he was hired by Mike Holmgren, and Mike Holmgren is going to be leaving the Cleveland Browns. Joe Banner is going to be in his place, and so when you no longer work for the guy that hired you, it all changes.
This is Richardson. And Richardson out to about the 41-yard line of the Dallas Cowboys. And the new owner here, or rather in Cleveland, Jimmy Haslam, along with Joe Banner, being shown around the stadium yesterday by Cowboys owner Jerry Jones.
And I think wisely so. Jimmy Haslam seeking the input from Jerry Jones, a master marketer, a franchise builder, how to maximize your investment. Smart move.
On 2nd and 3, Richardson trying to bounce it outside and make something out of what looked like nothing just inside the 40-yard line.
Well, I didn't think there'd be any question about the fact that Rob Ryan was going to get this defense of the Cowboys to really crowd the line of scrimmage and really smother any potential running lanes for Trent Richardson, and that was a good look at it right there. Rob Ryan was pretty vocal in talking about how unhappy he was. He thought he could have been interviewed, had a good chance maybe. He should have deserved the chance to compete for the head coaching job in Cleveland and was never in the mix. He was upset about it.
Cleveland, third worst in the league on third down. Whedon with lots of time and throws it out here complete to Richardson. Richardson has a first down as he's bumped out of bounds inside the 35-yard line.
Well, we just got a good look at something else that this talented rookie from Alabama can do, and that's catch the football. He's got soft hands as well. But it's only a three-man rush by Dallas, and the five guys from Cleveland did exactly what they're supposed to do. Three men aren't supposed to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. But that was a good open field grab by Trent Richardson.
First down for Cleveland, short drop for Whedon, and the quick slant is complete to the 20-yard line. Josh Gordon, the rookie out of Baylor. And that's another Cleveland first down.
Again, it looked like that throw from Brandon Whedon was a little bit behind. Not exactly where he'd like it to be in terms of leading his receiver. And that was another good effort by a Cleveland receiver. Got to put that ball out in front of the guy. Don't make him turn all the way around. Luckily, the coverage from Dallas was soft enough that Gordon was able to do it.
Richardson finding running room off the left side, inside the 15 to the 12. Once again to New York. JB.
Greg, Arizona out quickly on Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta coming off a loss last week. They get down 10-0. Rod Stevens-Holland runs it same 3 yards after Matt Ryan is picked off early by the Arizona defense. Could this be loss number 2?
Greg, I was a little too anxious there. Didn't mean to step on you. Back to Greg Gumbel and Dan Deerdorf.
Yes, you did, JB. Thanks, Dave.
6 touchdowns out of 18. That's not good enough. That's one of the reasons you're 2-7.
Richardson looking for running room. Stacked up at about the 11-yard line before he's pushed back.
Well, one of the things Trent Richardson's dealing with are some bad ribs. He got hurt in the second Cincinnati game, and which was about a little over a month ago, and he's going to have to deal with this for the rest of the season. They put a pad over them. He takes a pain-killing injection, but he made it pretty clear it makes it hard for him to breathe sometimes, and he's just going to have to deal with it for the rest of the year.
Quick handoff to Ogbonnaya. And that doesn't get them much, to about the 10. Tony Romo waits and watches as we come up on 5 minutes to play here in the first quarter.
Well, let's see exactly where they're spotting this ball. I know that's pretty close. You got to wonder if when they run a handoff like that right up the middle, if they didn't make a determination that this was going to be 4-down territory. It's got the first down, but you wonder with a call like that they make up their mind that if we don't get it, we're going to run it again anyway.
Well, Pat Shurmur told us that he would consider doing just that when we talked to him yesterday.
Right. Well, that's a decision we won't find out about because they eked out the first down, but now you've got as long as you can go on a first and goal. You got to cover the full 10.
No touchdowns for Cleveland in their last 5 red zone trips. Richardson in the backfield. Whedon rolls, looks, end zone, incomplete. Pass intended for Jordan Cameron, the tight end. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Well, that just looked like Whedon threw that away. The Dallas coverage was pretty good. Sensabaugh was in good position back there. They had an underneath and a deep pattern there, and both of them were snuffed out by the Cowboys.
You wonder what makes some teams better in the red zone than others, Dan?
Better players.
better
play calling. Being able to run it in the red zone is a real luxury as well.
Richardson tripped up. Didn't get back to the line of scrimmage.
No, but you can't just try to throw the football every time you get down here. Again, though, the penetration was all on the part of the Cowboys. Completely jammed up in there, even though really Jason Hunter came in and undercut that thing. Even though Travis Benjamin comes in, and some of these guys were throwing their bodies around.
So Whedon spreads the field on 3rd and goal from just outside the 10-yard line. 3-man rush. He has time. End zone touchdown. What a catch made by Benjamin Watson, the tight end.
Well, Rob Ryan that time deciding that instead of pressure, I'll go for coverage. And when you drop 8 guys into coverage and only blitz 3, it's not supposed to be that easy. And again, Brandon Whedon goes up with the football. And another good job of elevating for the football by another Cleveland Brown receiver. And this time it's Benjamin Watson, the tight end. But with 8 guys back there in coverage, that was a pretty good window the Browns had to get that football into.
This is a Cleveland team that's had problems with dropping passes this year, but not yet today.
And it's a Cleveland team that we've seen before get off to a good start.
First Cleveland touchdown in 8 quarters of play.
Now this play is under review, as all scoring plays are. Ed Hockley's coming over to the sideline. We'll go ahead and take a look at it again to see if they're going to determine whether he had possession of the ball all the way through and fulfilled the catch. I didn't see the ball jiggled around a little bit, but keep in mind he's in the field of play. He's not out of bounds, so if that ball doesn't touch the ground, it's a catch.
I didn't see the ball touch there.
I didn't see it touch there either. We're going to look at it from as many angles as we have. No question that hit knocks it loose. But it looks like he's able to keep his hand underneath it and keep it off the field.
Let's put it this way. I don't think Ed Hockley can see the ball touch the ground, if it did.
Well, we haven't seen this.
Right.
If it did, that might be the one that would show us. I can't see it there either.
And again, the call on the field is a catch.
There, the football is loose. I think he cradled it on his forearm and kept it off of the turf.
Kept it off of the ground, right.
Which would make it a legitimate catch. Now keep in mind, if that was out of bounds, that would be an incomplete pass. But because he was in the field of play and or the end zone, those rules don't apply.
Ed Hockley is still...
Well, it's one of those where you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe it's, but you got to have conclusive evidence, especially considering it was ruled.
Which I don't think exists.
I would agree. I don't see it.
The ruling on the field is confirmed. It was a touchdown. Although the ball came briefly loose and never did hit the ground, and the receiver regained possession for the touchdown.
Ed Hockley right on the money. Benjamin Watson with his 2nd touchdown catch of the season.
And so far in this game, Brandon Whedon should go over to all of his receivers and say, guys, I'm going to try to do better in getting the ball in the sweet spot where you can make a catch without getting the you-know-what knocked out of you. They have been high and behind so far. He's got to tighten that up a little bit.
And we have a penalty marker on the extra point.
Offside by the left defensive end. That 5-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. The try was good.
So Cleveland doing everything right so far. They deferred, they weathered the storm, they've scored a touchdown, they lead the Cowboys 7-0. This is nothing new for the Cleveland Browns. They've made it a habit every once in a while this season of jumping out in front, but as you mentioned at the very start of the day, Dan, they have to learn to finish because the bad news is they've been giving up leads. And with the aid of the penalty, the Cowboys will not have a chance to run this one back. It's a touchback.
All right, let's take a look. Ben Watson is lined up right here. He's just going to go down and find a soft spot right here in the middle. And with only a 3-man rush and 8 defenders dropping back, you can't leave the middle that wide open. And listen to the hit that he took from Gerald Sensible. A big pop, and as you saw, the ball came loose, and as Ed Hockley described, it didn't touch the ground, doesn't touch it.
On first down, this is Felix Jones. And Jones stacked up by the middle of that rejuvenated Cleveland defensive front.
Well, I know that DeMarco Murray is missing his 5th game, but the reality is this offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys is hardly a juggernaut, and it is not a really good run-blocking group, and especially, I mean, just Bernardo moving over to center. There are, what do you expect? They've got one really, above average player to me, and that's their left tackle Smith.
Romo running out of time, making things happen with his legs, and we have a penalty marker down. He's out to the 25, and let's check the flag. Cowboys are applauding.
Holding defense, number 98. That's a 5-yard penalty that is enforced from the end of the run. Automatic first down.
That's Phil Taylor, who missed the first 7 games of this season with a torn pectoral muscle.
And that is a penalty you rarely see called on a defensive lineman, especially an interior defensive lineman. You know, a lot of times, guards, centers trying to slip off of a block, get to that second level, and defensive linemen are taught to grab them, hold them, keep them from being able to do it.
180. What is that?
From the 30, Romo. Escaping trouble. Got rid of it. Incomplete. Jones out of the backfield. The pass was too high to control. Yeah. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, the initial problem is Doug Free, his right tackle, just gets run right back into him. Let's look downfield and see if he's got anybody open. Nope, not there, that's for sure. That's good coverage. Let's see what Jason Witten does. But Doug Free, you see him there, number 68, he got drilled by Jabal Sheard and run all the way back into Romo's face.
Kill! Hey, move to the team.
Romo changing play here at the line.
What is that?
On 2nd and 10, we'll pump fake to Romo. Romo goes down back to the 20-yard line. Number 53, Craig Robertson, with his first sack of the season.
Well, Lance Dunbar, the running back, was in there trying to block.
Illegal contact by the defense, number 24. It's a 5-yard penalty, enforced from the previous spot, an automatic first down.
Well, that's Sheldon Brown, the corner on the other side of the field, working against Des Bryant. Yeah, that's beyond the 5-yard zone. That's illegal contact. That was at about 7 yards, and sometimes you could get away with that, but not with the receiver ending up on the ground.
And again, there's an example of the Browns getting something good happening and then nullifying it. There's a pass, and that's complete just short of the 40-yard line. And once again, back to New York, JB and Coach Cowher. Guys?
Hey, Greg, Chad Henne, Justin Blackman, 63 yards, sets this up.
Yeah, Chad Henne's going to find Mercedes Lewis over the middle. That's going to 13 yards out, 7-7. Gabbert was shaken up. That's why Chad Henne is in the game.
All right, Greg, didn't want to step on you this time. Back to Greg Gumbel and Dan Deardorff.
All right, JB. Oh, I'm sorry. I stepped on JB. I'm sorry,
well,
James.
You've got them on the run here, Gumbel. You got them going. JB, don't take that.
Houston, the runaway leader, divisional leader. 2nd and 5. Lance Dunbar in the backfield behind Romo. Trying to get outside, nowhere to go, and down to the turf he goes at the 32 or 33-yard line, courtesy of Jaquay Parker.
Well, I think you're watching this game and you're discovering something that most people around the NFL know, and that is the fact that, even though the Browns are 2-7, I'm not sure they're the team that I'd want to play on homecoming, because they're just not. They're not a patsy. They play everybody hard. As we talked earlier, they have tough times winning the close game, but they play hard every day.
6 running plays, a total of 10 yards for the Cowboys. Romo, sideline, incomplete. Number 88, Dez Bryant, the intended receiver over there, and that'll bring on the punting unit.
And that ball just looked like it got away from Tony Romo. That thing looked like it just sailed on him. That thing looked like it went 10 feet higher than he wanted.
Josh Cribbs back in his own 25. 3 possessions, 3 punts for the Cowboys. This one's going to sail out of bounds. Let's see where they're going to mark this one. They're going to walk this one up to about the 16-yard line. Not bad kick at all for the Cowboys. Brian Mormon. Hey, here's a great idea. You can help the victims of disasters like Superstorm Sandy. Text Red Cross to 90999 to make a $10 donation to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. CBS Care. 53 seconds remaining in the first quarter. While I'm thinking of it, I want to send out our good wishes to our friend and our fellow broadcaster Mike Ditka, who suffered a minor stroke this week, and we just hope that Mike is recovering well and gets back in the saddle soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And to know him is to love him, and to find out it happened while he was playing cards might be the least surprising thing. It was either cards or golf.
Trent Richardson up the middle and across the 20 to the 21-yard line.
Well, Trent Richardson is not shy about work, and he was so looking forward to this game here in Cowboys Stadium. Same high school that produced Emmitt Smith, and of course we all know what Emmitt Smith means to the NFL and to the Dallas area, and he was really hopeful that Emmitt was going to be able to be here today. His schedule with Dancing with the Stars precluded him.
Wheaton looking deep, checks it down to the near side. Richardson, 35. Up the sideline and out of bounds short of midfield.
Well, tremendous job of pass blocking by the Browns front wall, because Brandon Whedon just stood there and stood there and stood there. I mean, he only threw it at that time because Richardson was so uncovered. He decided to throw it. He was under no duress whatsoever.
And with that, we come to the end of a very good first quarter for these Cleveland Browns on the road, where they have not been successful. They've lost 11 straight on the road. They lead at 7-0 after 1. We're back to Dallas right after this. Welcome back to Cowboy Stadium as we start the second quarter. Cleveland at their own 48-yard line. Straight ahead, Richardson dumps it outside, back inside again, crosses midfield and up to about the 47-yard line, where Bruce Carter leads the charge to make the tackle. And Trent Richardson, as you mentioned, Dan, boy, first of all, Dallas comes in averaging just about 85 yards a game. They don't run the ball very well. They're only 29th in the league.
No, but Trent Richardson is the real deal. And every time you talk to a team after they've played Richardson, they're just surprised at how hard he is to get to the ground. And the guy has a fantastic attitude and a love of the game.
On 2nd and 5, Whedon throwing outside. Broken up on the near sideline, intended for Gordon, and broken up by Brandon Carr.
Well, we mentioned about Escambia High School and Emmitt Smith. There's Trent Richardson, the class of 2009. And did he have anybody to look up to? How about the class of 1987, Emmitt Smith? And the guys physically are similar, but check out Emmitt's rushing yards in high school. 8,800 yards and over 100 touchdowns.
Come on, Whedon on 3rd and 5. And throwing, tip in the air, and grabbed by Josh Gordon. A little juggling act, but that'll be good for a first down.
And right now, a lot of people in this stadium are starting to inch towards the edge of their seats going, are you kidding me? That is a long time for a receiver to have the ball in play and able to corral it without taking a hit from somebody defensively. Skandrick right there, got a hand on the ball, got it in play, but then nobody could finish the deal.
Setting up the screen. That's not going anywhere. Bruce Carter corralling Trent Richardson. Once again, back to New York. JB and the coach. Take it, JB.
A prolific Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Jermichael Finley, his first touchdown since week 1, 20 yards out. That's Aaron Rodgers' 26th touchdown pass on the year as they lead 7-3.
Hey, Greg, that was awesome. Back to Greg and Dan.
Thank you, James. 2nd and 13 for the Browns.
You're on your A game.
But it's early yet. Richardson. To about the 32.5-yard line. James Ratliff, the nose tackle, making the stop.
Just trying to get to a more manageable third down.
Well, last week, Dallas was great. Third down defense against the Eagles, held the Eagles to 1 out of 10 in third down conversions, but today, Cleveland's converted 4 out of 5.
And that's a killer percentage. We've seen this before out of the Browns. We saw them get on top of the Giants, 14-0.
Weed with time, throwing in, overthrows his man. He had him wide open. That was Josh Cooper.
Well, it'll be a long, slow jog back to the sidelines for Brandon Weeden, missing that opportunity. He's going to be sick when he sees how easy a completion that would have been. Cooper just not able to get up there. Cooper only 5'10". You don't get many opportunities like that. And another waste of good pass blocking by this line.
Here's Phil Dawson from 51 yards out. On its way. That has enough leg. And that looked like a chip shot. Phil Dawson, his 4th field goal of 50-plus yards this season. 10-0 Browns. Phil Dawson keeps the longest active streak in the NFL alive with consecutive field goals. He's made 24 in a row, and this one from 51 yards has given the Browns a 10-0 lead. Lance Dunbar in the end zone. Hasn't been able to return one yet. And he won't run this one out either. So it'll be first down from the 20-yard line for the Dallas Cowboys. Tuesday on CBS. See why America has made Vegas TV's #1 news show this season. Tuesday only. CBS. You said it right at the very top of the day, Dan. Cleveland Browns, first order of business, learn to finish.
Well, like I said, we saw them on the road in the Meadowlands get up on the New York Giants, 14-0. A very eerily similar start to what we've seen right here, and then they just fell apart. Giants ended up putting over 40 points on them.
Romo, quick pass to Whitman, and that is complete and out across the 25 to the 26-yard line. Been pretty frustrating on offense for the Cowboys, who've had 3 drives, punted 3 times, have managed just 3 first downs.
And maybe this is a situation now where instead of trying to hammer away at them on first down, maybe you loosen them up by going to the air. Bill Callahan, their offensive line coach and offensive coordinator, although Jason Garrett calls the plays, but still, they're having a tough time moving this defensive line.
This is Jones. Jones with running room across the 30 to the 32-yard line.
RG3's 10th passing touchdown.
Yeah, second of the day here, JB. Again, little play action to find Aldrick Robinson from 49 yards out, and the Washington Redskins jump out to a 14-3 lead over Philly.
Wow, Philly has won 3 straight against Washington, trailing now. Back to Greg and Dan.
JB, I just see you as a man who needs no introduction. First down. Romo gives to Felix Jones, turning the corner. Penalty markers all over the place.
Oh, yeah, this was a hold. This is coming back.
Raining yellow on this side of the field.
There were 2 holding fouls by the offense. Number 78, that's declined. Number 88 is enforced, 10 yards from the previous spot. Repeat first down.
Des Bryant, the talented wide receiver.
Well, he's the accepted one, but Jeremy Parnell
Did his part.
78. He got a really blatant one, and he's in at left tackle right now, taking some snaps.
1st and 20. Romo throwing, incomplete this side of the field. Miles Austin the closest. And the boos start to come down from the Cowboy fans.
And Tony Romo is really barking at his offensive teammates about, let's get this together. He's trying to find Austin, who doesn't come out of his break to the spot where Romo's expecting.
Dan, we had a very specific conversation with him about his offensive line, and he just simply, I have to trust them that they're going to do their job for me up front.
I can't make my reads any faster than I'm supposed to. If it's supposed to go bang, 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 I can't go bang, bang, bang and think that's going to work.
Romo over the middle, and that's complete to Cole Beasley, the rookie free agent receiver out of SMU.
All right, get some of it back.
That's out to the 29-yard line. They need the 42 for a first down, so it's 3rd and 12.
And this is the type of situation on 3rd and long over the course of this season that more often than not, this play has ended up with Tony running for his life. It's able to see if this Cleveland defense can get him off the spot. Hasn't been that hard to do.
Romo trying to find Rule, he can't find it, and he goes down at the 19. Juquay Parker in on the quarterback. Maybe Romo had no one to throw to.
Well, he did come out of the pocket trying to find somebody. Let's look downfield. Kind of a combination pattern there, but by this time Tony's already on the move to his left, away from those 2 receivers. And he just gets dragged down at the very end by Parker. And again, this is a Cowboy offense that they've been practicing all week, but doesn't look like it.
And no desire to kick this one to Josh Cribbs. It sails out of bounds again. Just under 9.5 minutes to play here in the first half, and it's Cleveland by 10 over the Cowboys.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Macy's. T. Rowe Price, understanding the connections of a complex global economy. Invest with confidence. And by State Farm. Get to a better state with a discount double check.
From the 27-yard line, Pat Shurmur told us yesterday that we need to be a team that when all is said and done, 7 guys have caught the ball. So far, 5 different receivers for the Browns today.
Well, they're dominating the Cowboys on both sides of the ball to this point.
Richardson to the 33. And Ernie Sims making the stop.
Now, we were talking about Dallas's offensive line. Cleveland's offensive line, on the other hand, they are pretty good. They are pretty good and getting better. They're starting a rookie there at right tackle, 72, staring right at you there, his back, Schwartz. He's really starting to come on. And, of course, they got the great anchor on the other side of Thomas, but Greco, Mack, and Laval in the middle. Pretty darn solid.
Short drop, quick pass. That's Watson. And Watson across the 43, and that'll be a first down for the Cleveland Browns. Joe Thomas has played every snap since he was drafted. He's in his 6th season out of Wisconsin.
And factor in 5 consecutive Pro Bowls in his previous 5 seasons. I'd say that Joe Thomas is off to a okay start to his career. What do you think? Let me see. He plays every snap and he goes to every Pro Bowl. Not bad.
Richardson to about the 47 before the pile gets moved back. Joe Thomas at 6'6", 312 pounds.
I remember watching Joe Thomas when he was in college at Wisconsin. There he is, number 73. That's DeMarcus Ware. You know, nothing spectacular. Gets in his way, blocks him off. But the thing about it is that when you do your game planning going into the week, you don't have to spend time saying, how are we going to help Joe Thomas this week? Are we going to put a tight end over there? Are we going to chip block with a back? You don't have to do any of that.
This is Gordon. And Gordon was run out of bounds at about the 45, so they lose a couple of yards on the play. You know, the funny thing about Joe Thomas is we asked him about DeMarcus Ware, and Joe Thomas said he's pretty phenomenal.
Well, that's how you block an end tackle game. In ET, we call it the end crashes to the inside. The tackle, you hit him, you pass him off to the guard, then you float back to the outside and picking up that looping defensive tackle. That was good work by John Greco and Joe Thomas together there on the left side of the Browns offensive line.
Another third down now for the Browns offense. Here come the Cowboys. That pass is incomplete at midfield.
Oh, we've got flags in the backfield.
Pass intended
Personal
for
foul,
Mohamed
roughing the
Massaquoi.
passer. Defense, number 32. Contact to the head, neck area. 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
Orlando Scandrick guilty of the penalty.
He comes in unblocked. Oh, and he puts a forearm right in the ear hole of Brandon Weeden. He comes in completely unblocked. It was a great call by Rob Ryan getting him loose off the edge, but you cannot go up and put that arm and elbow into the helmet of the quarterback. And there you see Skander trying to say, I just put my hand. No, you didn't.
Another Dallas penalty. They were penalized 13 times in the win over Philadelphia last week.
The knees of the quarterback and the helmet of the quarterback, the neck of the quarterback are off limits.
And we get a timeout called by Cleveland. Just under 7 minutes to play in the first half that has been dominated by the visiting Cleveland Browns. Back at Cowboy Stadium, first down from the 40-yard line. And this is Montario Hardesty. And Hardesty inside the 35 to about the 33.
Boy, you could hear the pads popping all the way up here. Listen to this offensive line of the Browns come off the ball. Now that is a first down play that an offensive coordinator and play caller can fall in love with. 7 yards on first down running the ball.
Gives Weeden second and 3, and they'll hand it off to Hardesty again inside the 25 to about the 21-yard line, and another first down. And this Cleveland team has just taken the life right out of this Dallas crowd.
And it's just power football on this drive. This is just, we are coming right at you. What are you going to do about it? Hardesty's going to follow the pulling offensive lineman that's going right up through. That's Joe Thomas. You see at the bottom with the block.
Play fake this time. Weeden got his man and then lost it at the 10-yard line, incomplete. Watson had it and lost it. That is an incomplete pass. At first glance, looked like he should have caught it.
Well, 2 successful running plays really sets up play action. And this is set up just perfectly, and you got to catch that.
You bet.
You know, Ben Watson's got a touchdown pass. Anthony Spencer was in on the play. That time Hatcher knocked Weeden for a loop.
So now it's 2nd and 10, and Trent Richardson is back on his field. Gets the handoff. Just inside the 20 before he is backed up by Bruce Carter. Tony Romo anxious to get back onto the field, but when he's been out there, the Browns defense has had every answer.
Well, when he gets back out there, and here comes the Browns hurrying it up. Here go the Browns into a hurry up, change the tempo, catch Dallas.
On 3rd and 7, Weeden with time. Look at the time he had. Throwing incomplete inside the 10-yard line.
Well, that early, that hurry up took the 3 rushers of the Cowboys completely out of it. They just were standing around and looking at each other going, well, you rush him. I'm not going to rush him. But good job downfield. That time Morris Claiborne with good coverage. And right now that drop by Ben Watson is going to result in this field goal attempt.
Phil Dawson from 37 yards. And it's good. Coming up on 5 minutes to play in the first half. 13-0 Cleveland.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by 1&1 My Website, where creating a business website is easy. And by Windows 8.
Well, the Dallas crowd desperately hoping for something to cheer about with 5:07 to play here in the first half.
Well, they got 46 yards of offense. I would go no huddle. I would do up-tempo, anything to try to shake the cobwebs off of this offense so far, because Tony Romo's, this offense is just flopping around. One good way to do it, go no huddle.
Meanwhile, every time Phil Dawson is kicked off, it's resulted in a touchback, and Lance Dunbar will not run this one out either. So again, the Cowboys will start it off on their own 20-yard line, and we said at the very beginning today, this is a big game for these Dallas Cowboys. They're looking up at the New York Giants, but the Cowboys have the benefit on paper of the schedule the rest of the way.
No, they had a brutal early schedule, but then they're here for 3 straight home games. Cleveland today. Washington will be here on Thanksgiving this coming Thursday, then Philadelphia. Well, hardly a juggernaut in any of those 3.
And 5 of their last 7 games here at home.
Right. And only Pittsburgh with a winning record.
Romo under pressure and goes down. The rookie John Hughes, the rookie out of Cincinnati, number 93.
And again, it's even with an attempted hold by Dockery, he couldn't keep Hughes from coming right up into the face. And again, the toughest pressure for a quarterback when it comes up the A-gap, and that is right where John Hughes came.
Cowboys have lost left tackle Tyron Smith to a left ankle injury. Jeremy Parnell is in his place. Romo throwing this side of the field, and that's Des Bryant, shakes a tackle, and out of bounds short of the 30-yard line.
Well, this has been a tough start for Tony Romo on 3rd down. Overthrows, underthrows, nobody's open, and then he ends up with a sack. And we saw him just sacked the last time. And this was a curious thing, Des Bryant just stepping out of bounds, uncontested, instead of fighting for that extra yard to move the chains. That was kind of a cavalier way to step out of bounds rather than try to guarantee your team picking up the first down.
Felix Jones in the backfield. Romo on 3rd and 1 going to give it to him. And it looks like he has fought for enough yardage. The 30-yard line for a first down.
Well, if he got the first down, it's going to be by less than a length of the football. Let's see where are they? Yeah, there it goes. Okay.
Now Pat Shermer doesn't like the call at all and is reaching for his challenge flag.
Well, he certainly can challenge it because it's in relationship to a first down if he wants to do it, and he will. Does.
So Ed Hockley is going to take a look at this one and see if the spot is correct. Needs the 30-yard line
Cleveland
for a first down.
challenging the ruling on the field that it was a first down.
Now just the nose of the football needs to get to the 30-yard line. At that look at it right there, it did look like the ball got to the 30-yard line.
Where's that X-ray vision when you need it?
Yeah, I really. It was a good second effort in there. Jones got a good he got stuffed immediately, and he did a little pirouette to his left,
But you
and
know
then
what?
was able to move it up, and I think that's when he got the yardage.
You know what, Dan? It punctuates what you said, though, about the play before, how no second effort on the part of Des Bryant left him a yard short of the first down.
Yeah. Now I don't know if Bryant thought he had the first down, but that's a little curious, folks, for a guy. Now, I'm sorry, but he's 6'2", 220 pounds. And I know, wide receivers aren't fullbacks, but they're allowed to lower their shoulder and plow forward to pick up a first down. And that was just, and that's not, Des Bryant on the field. He's a tough guy. I mean, he's not afraid to take a hit and all this and all that. I can only assume that he thought that he had the yardage for the first down. Well,
You're being really generous this afternoon on this Sunday before Thanksgiving.
well, if he had a long track record of doing that kind of stuff, I'd be all over him. But I don't think that he does. But that certainly is one where he sits down and watches that with the coaches or whatever. He's going to, they're going to say to him, Des, this is the NFL. You got to tough it out and just go get that first down and move those chains.
Meanwhile, here's Ed Hockley.
The ruling on the field stands as called. First down.
So Cleveland losing a timeout. They have one remaining. Dallas has all three of theirs. And we have 3:11 to play here in the first half.
But now, for 3 minutes and 11 seconds till we get to halftime, can we see some energy out of the offense of the Dallas Cowboys? To say they have been lethargic would be a gross understatement. 56 yards on 22 plays.
Only 17 rushing yards here in the first half. Romo, far side. And looks like that catch was made at about the 36-yard line by Bryant.
And good job by Bryant of coming back and digging it out. Tony throws this football low and away. The coverage is pretty decent, and he puts it in a place where only Des Bryant can catch it. And he came back and got it.
2:45 to play in the first half. Romo steps into this one and goes deep. Incomplete. And the penalty marker is down back up here at the 45-yard line. Des Bryant covered by Buster Skrine.
Now Buster Skrine starting because Joe Hayden isn't playing.
Illegal contact, defense, number 22. Before the pass was thrown. It's a 5-yard penalty enforced from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Well, we're way beyond the 5-yard limit, and you're right. Buster Skrine comes in, and I don't know how he thought he was going to get away with that, but in the grand scheme of things, it's only a 5-yard penalty.
We asked Buster about going up against a guy like Des Bryant yesterday, and he says he likes to see what he can get away with early on just to see how they're calling the game.
Yeah, well, that wasn't one of them.
No.
And Buster at only 5'9", giving away a lot of size to a receiver like Des Bryant. There they are matched up again at the top of your screen. At the top of your screen. That screen at the top.
I got it.
Charlie!
2:35 to play in the first half.
You make me sorry I even said it.
Romo fakes right and then eventually goes right, and there's another flag thrown.
Yeah.
And suddenly Buster Skrine is having a horrible 30 seconds.
Well, there's a lot of contact right there. Skrine saying, wait a minute, he shoved me too.
Before the pass was thrown, illegal contact, defense, number 22. 5-yard penalty for the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Well, again, there's the contact way after you cannot, they're not calling this interference at the end. They called this back up the field, even though the flag comes in late. But you can give a receiver that shot, but it's got to be within 5 yards. There is Joe Hayden on the sideline, pulled a muscle, and Wednesday's practice in a big loss for the Browns defensively that he can't play.
Each team now with 4 penalties on the day. Romo. Out of the backfield is Felix Jones. Jones across midfield and down at the 47-yard line of the Cleveland Browns.
All right, here's Tony going. He's going to speed him up now. Dallas is finally going to go without a huddle.
Romo makes the effort to get a play in before the 2-minute warning. That is complete. And down at the 41-yard line to Lance Dunbar, and with that we reach the 2-minute warning. It has taken until now for the Cowboys to show some offensive life. They're down 13-0. Hey, coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JV, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowher will have all the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Told you about that life that the Cowboy offense has shown. They had managed 4 first downs in their first 4 drives. They have 4 first downs on this drive. A quick pass batted at the line, incomplete. It'll be 2nd and 10.
That time Trevin Wade, it looked like he was the corner that came up and got a hand on the ball. There it is right there, number 26, Wade. They've got some production out of this kid, considering 7th-round draft pick from Arizona. You don't count on a 7th rounder to contribute much this rookie year. Anything you get is a real bonus.
On 2nd and 10, Romo spinning up and going deep down the sideline, incomplete.
Well, Buster Skrine had good coverage that time. Kevin Ogletree was the receiver, but Skrine with him hip to hip. And you notice he's gotten away from the although he does reach out again. Buster Skrine got away with another one. He reached out with an arm bar and hit Ogletree right in the chest as he pulled parallel to him.
Buster has that touchy-feely approach to playing cornerback, doesn't he?
That could have that should have been flagged as well. You can't do that. You are inviting a flurry of flags.
On 3rd down, Romo goes down at midfield, and Jabal Sheard.
Well, he goes around Doug Free like Doug Free's not even there. And this has been a problem for Free for a while. Look at the top of your screen there, number 68. Wow, that's inferior play.
Cleveland uses a timeout to stop the clock. Well, to Jason Garrett's consternation, this drive stalls at midfield, and Ryan Moorman set to punt it away for Dallas. The idea is to keep it away from Josh Cribbs, but he makes the fair catch call and then lets it bounce out of bounds right around the 12-yard line. Wednesday on CBS. They've survived severe weather. They've survived without food. But can they survive the most annoying castaway ever? New Survivor Wednesday, only CBS. I can't think of anything worse than being stranded on an island other than being stranded on an island with someone annoying.
You're the only guy that would actually go so far as to wonder who you were going to be there with.
It was the airport.
Well, Dallas has 3 timeouts here, and if they can keep the Browns from getting a first down, they might get some decent field position.
Richardson.
That's not exactly the way to do it, though, giving up that many yards on first down.
And the clock continues to move. We're at 1:20 to play.
Well, if they'd have run for a yard, Dallas would have called a quick timeout. But when you give up 9 or 8 on first down, that strategy is jettisoned.
And by the way, that defensive stand by the Browns just a few minutes ago, important in itself, especially when you consider Cleveland gets the football to start the second half. Richardson again. And he has enough for the first down at the 22. And we have 45 seconds and counting. This has been an impressive first half by the Cleveland Browns.
No, it has. Impressive that they got the lead, but then impressive on how they have played to continue to smother the Cowboys.
On the season, the Browns are scoring 49 fewer points in the first half. They're up 13 on Cleveland here with 20 seconds to play. Richardson plows straight ahead.
Well, Jason Garrett has got to take his team in the locker room, and he and Bill Callahan have got to figure out what they can do with their offensive line to shore them up, because they are getting handled by the Browns' front four. And that, if that doesn't change, all the magic in the world from Tony Romo isn't going to get it done.
Terrific first half for the Browns. They lead at 13-0. Back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS, the home of Super Bowl 47.
Mama, don't call, I'm chasing down the sun. Get 'em up, get it going, and get her done. I live for the day, I'll die for tomorrow. We get busy living and not busy dying. It's a cowboy life. It's a cowboy life.
Back at Cowboy Stadium as we get set for the second half. There is the score. The Cleveland Browns leading Dallas by a score of 13-0. Greg Gumbel and Dan Deerdorf. And if you're Cowboys fans, here are the facts that you have to live with for the first half of this game.
You sure you want to give them?
Oh, Brandon Weeden is outperforming Tony Romo, and Trent Richardson is outrushing the entire Dallas Cowboys team.
And you know, quite frankly, it is because the big guys for the Browns are beating up on the big guys from the Cowboys, both offensive line and defensive line, and it's giving Brandon Weeden an opportunity to make some plays. Trent Richardson is finding some soft spots. And let's take a look. There's Brandon Weeden, 10-17. All right, nothing spectacular, but he does have a touchdown pass, and he hasn't turned the ball over. Trent Richardson, and especially later on in the second quarter, was finding some nice holes there, as were the other Cleveland Browns running backs.
Now, as for Tony Romo in the second half, I mean, what are you doing if you're Jason Garrett and you're Tony Romo? What are you doing in the locker room?
Well, first of all, you challenge your offensive line. You challenge your offensive line to say, look, I know we're banged up. I know some of you are playing out of position, and I know some of you are in there because the starter's out. That doesn't matter anymore. You got to do your job. You've got to make a stand. You've got to give our playmakers a chance to make plays. And unless that happens, the Cowboys might be in for a long second half.
Now, you know the Cleveland Browns want to do something with this. They get the ball first here in the second half. They already have a 13-point lead, and they have the first possession to get things started here in the second half.
And again, though, this is a Cleveland Browns team that needs to learn how to win. How do you take the advantage that they have and capitalize upon it? How do you do that? They haven't figured it out yet.
Josh Cribb going to let it bounce. Having trouble corralling at the 5-yard line, and just barely gets it back across the 10.
That is not a good start for the Cleveland Browns. That's going to give Dallas a little bit of energy.
As Brandon Weeden comes back, a look at the first half numbers.
Well, you take a look at these 68 yards right here for Dallas. That is the worst first half of football that they've had in over 5 years. To put that into context, 1 conversion out of 6 third down attempts. Again, give credit to Cleveland. Cleveland physically is just getting it done on the line of scrimmage.
Richardson.
Whoa! Bruce Carter rejects Trent Richardson
at about the 16-yard line.
Talk about a couple of talented young football players meeting each other about 5 yards up the field. Watch this hit. That is rerouting a running back. Here it comes, Carter coming in from the left. He puts his helmet, his shoulder right in there. Oh, that was Anthony Spencer. I gave Carter credit for the hit. My bad. That was actually Anthony Spencer. That was a jolting shot.
2nd and 5.
Bruce Carter, you got a lot of credit there for a minute.
Weeden throwing this side and just plain missed Mohamed Massaquoi. Covered on the play by number 32 Orlando Scandrick. It'll be 3rd and 5.
And a very critical early third down here in the second half, because this would give the Dallas Cowboys good field position. It'd give Rob Ryan's group little, something to feel good about, getting them out of there in 3 plays and giving our team a chance. Get off the field.
Cleveland 4 out of 7 on 3rd down today. Outside, Richardson shaking tackles out across the 20 to about the 23 and a first down.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys did everything right. They came with a 6-man rush. The 3-man rush they've been using in the first half didn't work. There comes Ware right up there. You see McCray comes on the blitz as well. But it's all based on the fact you got to make the initial tackle. They had everything right, but Richardson makes a guy miss, and he moves the chains on his own effort.
Richardson again. How about every time we talk to him about his conversations with the great Jim Brown, he refers to him as Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown. He catches himself.
Oh, yeah.
I asked him, I said, "Did you talk to Jim Brown lately?" He goes, "Yeah, I did talk to Jim. I'm Mr. Brown." You're exactly right. I thought that Trent Richardson's handling of that early criticism from Jim Brown was nothing short of world class. And this is one quiet football stadium right now.
Whedon. Out of the backfield, Richardson. And very close to another first down at the 33-yard line.
Or at least this time Brandon Carr gets him on the ground. And again, look at the hands. Sticks out his right hand. That's just a one-handed grab by Richardson. And even though he jukes and sets up Brandon Carr, Carr's been around long enough to not buy it. That was good work by Carr. That has been a popular weapon today for the Cleveland Browns, just sending Richardson out of there on a flare. He's not really a check down. Brandon Whedon doesn't do a whole lot of checking down as a rookie quarterback.
Got enough for the first down.
Move him again.
There is Dallas owner Jerry Jones.
Son Steven, camera left, sitting to his right.
You know, Trent Richardson, I thought he had a great answer, Dan, when I asked him if he's adjusting. You know, he's lost this season many more games than he ever lost in his collegiate career at Alabama. And I asked him if he's adjusted. He said, "I don't ever want to adjust to lose."
No, he kind of bristled at the thought of it.
This is Montario Hardesty. And boy, the Browns are just taking it right at the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, considering where this drive started, in really bad field position because Josh Cribbs wasn't able to handle the kickoff. And it was tailor-made, set up for the Cowboys to get a 3-and-out and give their offense a good start. And this is very impressive that this is a 2-7 football team starting the second half like this. They're only at the 31. They're only at the 36-yard line, rather, but this has been impressive so far.
Play fake. Whedon with time, throwing, got his man inside the 45, out of bounds at about the 42-yard line. Greg Little for another Browns first down.
And again, no pass rush by the Cowboys. The offensive line of the Browns has just completely snuffed out their pass rush, and Brandon Whedon is able to just stand there and wait for the crossing pattern to open up. A little play-action pass, but take a look at that. And part of that's just outstanding blocking. Alan Smith, good block on Spencer.
Hardesty, just short of the 40-yard line, wrapped up by Victor Butler. Remember, this is a Cleveland Browns team that simply does not win games on the road. They've lost 11 straight away from home. They've already eclipsed their season average for rushing yards. 2nd and 8. Whedon with time, rolling, looking, and throws it away.
Jason Hatcher, the lone Cowboy that finally got through and was able to move Brandon Whedon off the spot. Take a look what we're looking at here. You can see the design was to go downfield, but the Cowboys took it away with double coverage. Greg Little just really sits down and at the last minute tries to make himself a target. Good work by the secondary of the Cowboys that time.
So a 3rd and 8 for Whedon.
Let's see if Ryan brings pressure here. Remember, in the first half, it was a lot of 3-man pass rushes.
Cleveland's been pretty good on 3rd down today. Under pressure, and he goes down for the first time today. Back at the 48-yard line.
But this time it's DeMarcus Ware and Joe Thomas, and DeMarcus Ware gets by Joe Thomas. Thomas, a little late off the ball, and he tries to grab DeMarcus Ware at the last minute, but Ware got a great jump up the field. I don't know if he guessed the snap count or if Joe Thomas was late reacting to it, but DeMarcus Ware got a step on Thomas right at the line, and Thomas couldn't recover.
That's only the third sack given up by Joe Thomas this year. This one will roll into the end zone for the touchback. So good possession, but it ends in a kick, and it'll be Dallas from their own 20 after this. With 10 minutes to play in the third quarter, Dallas looking for an answer to its offensive woes. Dan, you mentioned the fact that their first half was the worst they've had in 5 years. 68 total yards. They had 63 at Washington back in December of 07.
Hey, no. 52. Middle. Nigga. 180. 187.
Romo, this side to Dez Bryant. Across the 30 to about the 32, and whistle blew before he broke away.
See, Bryant was just setting him up in the first half by stepping out of bounds. There's no question the whistles were blowing. You can't have it both ways. You're going to protect the player when he gets stood up.
Is that a quick whistle?
No, it's not a quick whistle. There's player safety involved here. Are you going to let guys just come flying in there and stamp him as he's standing there straight up?
It's Jones. And Jones shakes a tackle. Across the 40, and there's a first down out to the 45-yard line.
By far and away the most successful Dallas running play.
Hey, to get the latest news, analysis, and predictions from Pat Kerwin, Pete Prisco, and other CBS Sports experts, watch Pro Football 360 live weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern or on demand at cbssports.com/ProFootball360.
Well, we have now seen Dez Bryant breaking tackles. We've seen Felix Jones spinning off of people, driving upfield. A little bit of a renewed energy here in the first couple plays offensively for Dallas. Surprised? No, you shouldn't be.
Romo from Jones, and Jones runs right into the heart of that middle of the front four of Cleveland Browns. Ataba Rubin.
I'm assuming, Greg, there were a lot of challenges issued at halftime by Jason Garrett and the Dallas coaching staff to this offensive team.
We asked Jason Garrett about his team. He says, we haven't played as well as we've wanted to play, but he has no quarrel with how hard the Cowboys have played.
Tony Romo said the same thing. We've showed up every week from an effort standpoint. Maybe not the production end of it, but the effort's been there week in and week out.
2nd and 9.
What is that?
Under pressure, across the middle. That's complete. And inside the 45-yard line is Miles Austin for another Dallas first down.
Well, Dick Duran, the defensive coordinator of the Browns, comes with an all-out blitz, and the Cowboys block it. And that gives Romo time to hit the crossing pattern coming underneath the Miles Austin. But that give credit, we've been hard on him. Look at this all-out blitz right up the middle, and the Cowboys just wad them all up and don't let Romo get pressure in his face. That was a good job by the Dallas blocking front.
First catch of the day for Miles Austin. Romo to throw again. This side of the field, and he got it in there to Austin again, just ahead of Sheldon Brown.
And they're going to a little quicker passing game, shorter routes, more. Look at this, Tony Romo, 1, 2, 3, plant, here comes the football. And that's very smart. Let him get into some kind of a rhythm. Because anything that involved him sitting in the pocket waiting for someone to open up downfield, to this point hasn't worked.
Easily the best this Dallas offense has looked all day long. 7 minutes to play here in the third quarter.
180. What is that?
Deeper drop this time. Romo on the move. Penalty marker is down as that pass is incomplete.
Well, John Hughes, it looked like, was in there. He sliced right through. And Tony had to improvise and run for his life. When the quarterback doesn't even get a chance to set initially.
That's the first clue?
Yeah, that's your first clue.
Personal foul, face mask by the defense, number 90, against the receiver trying to go out for a pass. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's Billy Wynn, the rookie out of Boise State.
And Billy Wynn is a defensive lineman. How many times during a season do you see defensive linemen get called for these penalties? And the Browns so far have had two. Remember, Phil Taylor got called for one in the first half. He got called for a defensive holding. This time it's a face mask on a rookie defensive lineman.
So the Browns defense now contributing to this drive, which has moved to the 23 and a first down.
53.
This crowd desperately hoping for something on the scoreboard.
Tyron Smith still out of the game at left tackle. Parnell's in his place.
This is Dunbar. Inside the 20 to about the 18.
Well, finally, the Dallas Cowboys within sight of the end zone, inside the 20 in the red zone. Those goalposts finally look to be pretty good size. they've been looking at them from a distance for so long. Probably look at those things going, man, I'd forgotten how big they are.
Yellow 80. White 80. What is that?
Here comes the blitz. Romo running for his life and goes down.
And again, right off the edge, Usama Young and Mayaba, I believe, is in there. There they are, both coming in off the right-hand side. They kind of meet at Tony Romo at the same time. And Tony gets up and says something to Felix Jones.
Might it have been in the block him category?
Yeah, I think that's safe to say.
3rd and 13.
Give Dick Duran credit for that. The corner blitz has been effective.
Yellow 80. White 80. What is that?
Romo spins out of trouble. There's a marker.
Well, that's holding on the left tackle.
Romo on the move.
This doesn't matter.
Down at the 15-yard line.
Parnell is guilty of holding. He just had a complete horse collar. It looked like he grabbed Jaquay Parker.
Holding, offense, number 78. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot.
Some holding calls are easier to call than others. There it is right there. He's got both hands. Let's grab around the throat. And it was even worse before that when he ultimately decided to let him go, that maybe I'd gone far enough. Could have called that penalty from a long, with the roof open, you could have called that from space.
5 penalties on the Cowboys today for 47 yards. 3rd and 24.
Bang it. 180. What is that?
Romo whipped right over the middle to about the 26-yard line.
And again, a very deep, soft shell by Cleveland. You know, with it just being 13-0, and you know we've got almost 20 minutes of football still to play. You take your field goal, at least get on the board and move on.
Dan Bailey has hit 16 and 18 tries. This one he will line up from 44 yards out.
They need this badly from a psychological standpoint.
And they get it. Not until 4:16 to play in the third do the Cowboys finally hit the scoreboard. 13-3 Cleveland.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Yeah, you're right.
Cowboys finally on the board. 13-3, 4:16 to play. They go 53 yards in 9 plays. And now Jason Garrett says the Cleveland special teams as good as they've seen all season. And that means Josh Cribbs deep for this kick. And they scout this one along the ground, and it's grabbed by number 50, James Michael Johnson.
Oh, they tried to catch the Browns napping, and they didn't.
Meanwhile, that's great field position for Brandon Whedon when we come back. Whoa. Welcome back. Great field position for the Cleveland Browns, and they started off with Trent Richardson trying the left side and nothing there. Let's go back to that kick, which still has us scratching our heads.
Well, we're trying to figure out what it was. It doesn't look like an onside kick. That should have been a little more lateral. But again, it had to be some type of an attempt at an onside kick called by Jason Garrett. But that kick from Bailey, that's just too easy. Just a two-hopper. Wow, if that was an onside kick, it was poorly executed.
2nd and 9. Richardson squeezes through and out to midfield. As we approach the 3.5-minute mark in the third quarter, DeMarcus Ware making the stop. It'll be 3rd and 4.
And that is and DeMarcus Ware is still on the ground. And he looks reluctant to stand up.
So Ed Hockley will stop the clock here with 3:14 to play in the third. And they'll take a look at DeMarcus Ware, and we'll take a chance to take a break. A doubleheader Sunday here on CBS, and look what's coming up next. Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts at New England to take on Tom Brady and the Patriots, or San Diego out in Denver against Peyton Manning and the Broncos. Check your local listings for the game in your area. They still look at DeMarcus Ware.
And watch the conclusion of this previous play. Okay, he gets cut. That's not it. He gets back up. Watch from the right. There comes one of his teammates flying in there. Not quite sure. Marcus Spears, it might be. Can't tell for sure, but he took a heck of a shot to the head. And they were over there talking to him, trying to figure it out.
3rd and 4. Whedon throwing over the middle, and it's incomplete.
Greg Little, it looked like he gave up on the pattern, or he knew he was going to get hit. All right, the 4-man rush, effectively blocked. And again, there really was nowhere to go. Bruce Carter, number 54, he was underneath Little, and there was really zero chance of a completion there.
Dwayne Harris, who has a 78-yard punt return for a touchdown this season. They'll let this one bounce, and Cleveland going to cover this one just outside the 10-yard line. Craig Robertson with the football. We'll take a break.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart. We're so confident in our low prices, we guarantee them. And by Acura. Acura Advance.
.248 to play in the third quarter. Dallas trying to find a solution to this power outage that has them just 3 points on the board so far this afternoon. They start from their own 11. Romo throwing, Bryant complete just across the 15-yard line. Let's check back into the NFL Today in New York. Once again, James Brown and Bill Cowher.
Hey, Greg, a career day for RG3.
Yeah, no priorities up in Washington. Watch RG3. Sometimes they're not even open in Philadelphia secondary. Sometimes they're double covered. In either case, they're completion. Santana Moss, 61 yards, 24-6 Washington.
Greg and Dan.
Kill!
Of course, that's a short career so far, but still at all.
How bad can it go in Philadelphia?
Romo, pump fake, Bryant got it! Out of bounds across the 45-yard line. Just a little hitch in Tony Romo's right arm set that one up.
Well, there's a window here in this cover two between the corner and the safety coming over, and Tony Romo and Des Bryant executed perfectly. Sheldon Brown's underneath, and by the time the safety's able to come on over there, Gibson just can't get there in time to make the play.
So now, out of the shadows of their own goalpost, Dallas with the ball at their own 47. Throwing to the other side of the field, and that is complete to to Des Bryant on the far side of the field, and once again, JB and the coach.
Defense getting it done, Coach.
Yeah, watch this play right here. Matthew Stafford is going up and down the field, but here he lets one slip. Picked off by M.D. Jennings, and he doesn't just pick it, he takes it for the house, 72 yards. Green Bay goes back up on top, 14-10, but Detroit is back driving again.
An intellectually astute comment by Greg Gumbel. It is only a 9+ game career for RG3. Back to Greg and Dan.
One of my rare moments, JB. Thank you.
Looking
at the NFC North.
It wasn't that good.
No, it wasn't either. We'll rethink the whole thing. Romo whipped and wide open at the 35 is Kevin Ogletree. And Tony Romo, you get the feeling, beginning to get a little rhythm into the game.
Well, they're realizing that the corners for the Browns are now giving a lot of room underneath, and they're just running some straight curl patterns. You know, this is nothing more than a 10-yard curl, bang, and, you know, look how far off. Screen is a good 5 yards still away from the receiver when he makes the catch. If they're going to give you that kind of room, just take it all the way down the field. Screen's faking a blitz here. Here he comes.
Up in the air, throwing. Oh, there's a grab.
Yeah, I would say so. That's got 3 separate flags. That's about the most you'll see on a given play.
Pass interference, defense, number 43. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
Right now, T.J. Ward is thinking to himself, well, it's better than a touchdown, because that's what this would have been. Because if I don't grab Kevin Ogletree, that's a touchdown. Pat Shurmur keeps looking up at the big video board here. Well, I'd take advantage of it too on the sideline. This is the only stadium in the NFL where you get that detailed of a look at it that easily.
Last 12 seconds of the third quarter. Romo throwing far side of the field, and that was complete to Dwayne Harris, number 17, and that will run us out of time here in the third quarter.
I like the rhythm here by the Dallas offense. And ball's coming quickly out of Romo's hands.
The end of 13-3 Browns. We're back after this message and a word from your local station. Along with our producer, Mark Wolf, our director, Bob Fishman, Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf, and the rest of the usual suspects on our CBS crew here in Dallas. 13-3 Cleveland as we start the fourth quarter. And Tony Romo has come to life here in the second half. 9 out of 9 for 97 yards throwing in the third quarter. Romo this side of the field and out of bounds. Witten at about the 13.
How many out patterns have you seen down here in Dallas between Tony Romo and Jason Witten?
Numerous.
Almost more than you can count. And again, that's literally a running play. That's not much more than a handoff. 767, and Jason Witten is only 30 years old.
Normal jet.
He came out of Tennessee very young, and he's got a lot of football left to play.
On first down, Romo throwing on the slant. That's complete to Des Bryant. It'll be first and goal at about the 2.
And right now, the cushion that's being given by these corners, that time Sheldon Brown, number 24, giving Bryant and these Dallas receivers a whole lot of room to work underneath. And I got to give a lot of credit. I got to give a lot of credit to Jason Garrett, because they're taking advantage of it. They're calling the right patterns underneath stuff.
Felix Jones, right side.
He broke the play.
Touchdown. And a little pushing and shoving at the goal line.
Well, again, it's been mainly through the air, and when they had to stuff it in, Lawrence Vickers, the fullback, was out in front getting a pretty good block.
Terrific second effort by Felix Jones.
Yes. John Phillips, the backup tight end, got his job done. And again, Garrett, great job of working this thing, quick releases, underneath stuff, take advantage of the fact that the Browns defensively have softened up their coverage.
Extra point is good. Just like that, Cowboys right back in the hunt. 13:49 to play in regulation. Cleveland by 3. It was a touchdown that Dallas Cowboys badly needed. As Pat Shurmur pointed out, Dallas scored 38 last week against Philadelphia, but they had a pick six for a touchdown, a punt return for a touchdown, and a sack fumble for a TD. A lot of defense, a lot of special teams. They got something out of the offense on that last drive. Josh Cribbs deep. And a chance to return this one. To the 25. And a loose ball. And Dallas says they have it. They still continue to squabble over it at the 25-yard line. Still no call. Dallas ball. Ernie Sims comes out of the pile.
During the return, holding by the receiving team number 81.
No.
That penalty is declined. Dallas ball, first down.
That's going to get overturned. Because it's a turnover, it's going to be reviewed. It looks to me like Josh Cribbs has firm control of that ball until his elbow hits the ground, and then it comes out. That's going to be Cleveland's football. That ball is not coming loose. It is firmly in his grasp until his elbow hits the turf, and then it pops out.
We are reviewing the ruling on that it was a fumble.
So they will take a look. Ed Hockley will take a look. We'll take a break. As you rejoin us here in Dallas, by rule, the turnover has been reviewed by Ed Hockley, and we believe that that fumble call will be overturned, but there's a penalty to be enforced against the Cleveland Browns. Here's Ed.
The runner's right elbow hit the ground before the ball came loose. He was therefore down by contact. It is therefore Cleveland's ball. Now there was a holding on the play by number 81 at the 14-yard line. That will be enforced half the distance to the goal. Cleveland's ball at the 7-yard line, first down. Reset the clock to 13:46. 13:46, thank you.
Well explained by Mr. Hockley.
And normally when it's this cut and dry, in terms of down by contact, the officiating crew sees it 95% of the time, but that time they didn't. But again, that's why every turnover is reviewed. They got it right. It just took a couple of minutes. But again, the momentum is on Dallas's side now, and here's Cleveland back inside their own 10.
And
no
DeMarcus
turnovers.
Ware is back on the field for Dallas.
And no turnovers in this game yet.
Line of scrimmage is the 7-yard line. And a tall order for the Cleveland offense right now. Wheaton in trouble, throws and almost intercepted by number 92, Josh Brent.
There was a rookie mistake. You can be 29 years old and still make a rookie mistake, and that's what Wheaton did right here, because this is just a wing and a prayer as he's trying to get the ball to Ben Watson, his tight end, and just bangs it off a defensive tackle. Lucky, lucky, lucky.
Richardson across the 10 out to about the 12. Brandon Carr tripped him up.
Yeah, it was a good open field tackle by Brandon Carr. And that's a very high percentage throw. This is not again, in this West Coast offense, that's nothing more than a long handoff. That's a successful play probably 90%, 95% of the time.
And this crowd, which has been really very quiet for most of this afternoon, suddenly very much alive.
First half for Rob Ryan, it was a three-man rush. The second half, it's been more pressure.
The pitch for Richardson. Oh, lost the ball.
Gerald Sensabaugh just gave every kid in America a textbook look of how you make a tackle.
Trent Richardson doesn't lose the handle very often.
Well, it's just perfect. On a scale 1 to 10, that is a flat-out 10.0. A perfect tackle by Gerald Sensabaugh.
Third straight punt for the Browns. This is Dwayne Harris. And brings it back across the 40 out to about the 42 or 43-yard line. 11:57 to play in the fourth quarter. Here come the Cowboys and Tony Romo on offense.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Audi. Truth in engineering. Kay Jewelers, the #1 jewelry store in America. Every kiss begins with K. And by the Samsung Galaxy S3. The next big thing is here.
11:57 to play here in the fourth quarter. Remind you, stay tuned for the Farmers Insurance update, time permitting. And right now, the Cowboys with the ball. 1st and 10 at their own 42-yard line.
Corners are tightening it up a little bit here for Cleveland. Well, they gave them a look and then they bailed.
Well, they threw that one into the dirt.
Well, we got another flag downfield. Buster Screen again makes huge contact with Des Bryant down the field. I don't know if that's what they called. I'm not sure that's what they called, but Screen has just got to stop making these hits way beyond the 5-yard mark. He's playing for Joe Hayden.
We have another penalty in the backfield.
There were fouls by both teams on the play, holding, number 97 defense, and intentional grounding, the quarterback of the offense. Those penalties offset. Replay first down.
Well, number 97 for Cleveland, that's Jabal Sheard.
And he's on Jason Witten and not letting him get off the line of scrimmage. That's a good call there. You're allowed to hit him, but not hold him. Hold him. And then they're saying that Tony just threw the... Well, again, offsetting penalties. And Buster Screen that I was talking about got away with a major one. That's because the official had already thrown his flag. He could have got the hat, though. He could have had the hat thrown at him.
So Jason Witten, Jason Witten is saying, I was close to the ball.
Correction. Number 90, the tight end was held by number 97 of the defense. That's the player to whom the quarterback was throwing the ball. Therefore, there was no intentional grounding foul on the play. Holding, defense number 97, 5 yards, which is enforced from the previous spot, and an automatic first down.
Well, give Tony credit. Tony was in there pleading his case, and it's not every day you get them to change their mind. In fact, it's very rare.
And Pat Shurmur is livid on the near sideline.
Well, again, like I said, it doesn't happen very often. He's going, how come I've been lobbying you guys now for going on 2 years and you haven't picked up a flag once?
Meanwhile, that is the 7th first down for the Cowboys via the penalty. So now from the 47.
180. 187.
Felix Jones running with right side, inside the 45 to the 44 to New York. JB and the coach.
Jacksonville has averaged 14 a game coming in, Coach.
Now listen, it's a Houston defense. Chad Henne to Justin Blackmon. 81 yards for a touchdown. Henne's 4th touchdown pass of the day. Justin Blackmon for the day, 6 catches, 221 yards. That's the Houston defense.
Wow. Greg and Dan.
Hey, where'd that Chad Henne go to school?
University of Michigan.
I knew you would know. 2nd and 1.
180. 187.
Romo stepping up, going deep. Dez Bryant, this side of the field. Incomplete.
Just a little bit underthrown by Tony Romo because Dez Bryant had a step. If Tony would have put a little more air under that football, Dez Bryant catches this thing. You can see right there, it's over. But he's got to slow down, wait for the football, and because of that, Buster Skrine is able to get back in on it. And he gets his hands up in there and causes enough of a problem, the incompletion. If that ball is thrown another yard or two downfield, Dez Bryant takes that in full stride right into the end zone.
Romo had completed 11 straight until that pass, 3rd and 1.
Kill. Get him, Kevin. Yes. 180.
You hear the kill, normally changing plays.
Jones. And Jones did not get back to the line of scrimmage. He'll be a yard short of the first down. What do you do if you're Jason Garrett?
Oh, this is no man's land right here. I would be a lot more compelled to go for it if I'd seen my offensive line destroying people to this point, up to the, and I'm not sure he's seen that.
Well, they're going to go for it. They're going to go for it.
He's showing a lot of confidence in an offensive line that hasn't exactly had a banner day.
And we get a stoppage in play.
The play clocks are inoperable. The play clocks are not working properly. Please shut them down. The play clocks, not the game clock. Please shut the play clocks down until you get them fixed. We will keep the time on the field for the 40-second, 25-second clock. Please shut them off or freeze them.
Well, that'll make it interesting for a quarterback.
Well, they seem to be frozen right now on 35.
So a 4th and 1, and Jason Garrett going to go for it right here. You like this call, Dan?
I am, again, I said this would be a lot easier. I'm a little unsure of it because of the offensive line play to this point. They haven't exactly been blowing people off the ball.
Romo going to throw out here. Caught. Lawrence Vickers out of the backfield.
Well, that's, if you don't have confidence in them rooting somebody off the ball, then you've got to throw it. And Lawrence Vickers, does he go up to get this? How about that effort by a 6-foot-tall fullback? That's only his 7th reception of the year. And Jason Garrett wanted the momentum, and he's got it.
Big first down for the Cowboys at the Cleveland 41.
180. What is that?
Romo. Quick pass. And that's Dunbar, and that doesn't get very much at all. May have even lost about a half a yard. Clock continues to move as we come up on 9.5 minutes to play here in the 4th quarter. Cleveland by a field goal.
And Cleveland was so dominant defensively in the first half. And, you know, we talked early on in this game, and what did we talk about the Cleveland Browns? They needed to learn to finish. They've had the lead in games, and they've gotten off. They've played hard. They just haven't been able to close the deal.
52.
They're 9 minutes away from closing the deal here, but it seems to very much be in jeopardy.
Jet right.
On 2nd and 10, and now, you're wondering just how much time is left. The clock being held on the field, that's complete to Dez Bryant, and he is crushed at about the 37-yard line.
Dez, your helmet's over here.
On the Cleveland sideline, they're waving their arms, wondering, well, when is time going to expire?
Well, normally the officials try to work out some system where they'll, put he will flash when there's 10 seconds left. They'll maybe like put up a closed fist when you're down to 5.
26. 52. 52. Yellow 80.
37.
180.
Looked like movement on the left side. There's a pass over the middle to Jason Witten, complete inside the 30 for a first down. There was no flag.
No, it did look like Parnell set up early, and I think we can see the Browns sideline questioning the no flag.
That's a lot of movement on the left side.
That's a clear false start on the part of Jeremy Parnell, the left tackle. And Shermer's he's trying to settle his sideline down. No excuse that wasn't called. That was really obvious.
Yellow 80. Yellow 80. Kill. 43's the mic. Middle. No, it's middle. Middle, Jay. White 80. White 7.
Romo shelling out instructions. Has time. Throwing to the near side. Incomplete. Penalty marker. And Buster Screen is having one of those days.
He played right through the receiver to the football. He's making it pretty easy on him.
Pass interference, defense, number 22. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul.
Dwayne Harris, again, everything's okay to hear, but then, no, way before the football, he just doesn't try to go around Harris. He goes right through him, knocks him off his feet.
Now, the Cleveland Browns are saying, how can you call that one and miss the one before?
Well, they're two unrelated things, but you're right. You're right. But don't make it so obvious. If you're Buster Screen, don't, play with some subtlety. Browns almost look like they're lined up offside on the bottom.
No flag. Romo pulls it down and goes down back at the 28-yard line. Ataba Rubin.
Well, he's coming back off that calf injury where he missed the last 3 games. Number 71 working right there, and again, it's a game. He loops around to the outside, and his counterpart up front ties up 2 of the guys and frees up Rubin.
Romo sacked for a season-high 5th time today. 2nd and 19. Romo going to go deep. Touchdown! Dez Bryant.
How good was that throw from Tony Romo? Check it out. Moves just a little bit to his left, but look at him drop it right onto the hands of Dez Bryant. Sheldon Brown, the corner to that side, just couldn't keep up. Perfect throw by Tony Romo.
A career-high 124 yards receiving for Dez Bryant. The Cowboys are on top, 17-13. Dez Bryant caught 6 touchdown passes his rookie year, 9 last year. He registers his 4th of the season on the 28-yarder from Tony Romo.
Well, he's got 10 on the day for 124 yards in that touchdown. And the second half, Dez Bryant here has been the big difference maker for Dallas offensively. He has caught a lot of hitch passes, fought for extra yards. You can't have a much better second half than he's had.
And now, for the first time all day, the Browns on the short end of the scoreboard. Josh Cribbs in the end zone. Cribbs, will he run this one out? He will. And has room to run. Penalty markers all over the place.
There's at least 3. Let's see if they all saw the same one, or maybe we have multiple.
During the return, holding by the receiving team, number 58. It's a 10-yard penalty. Cleveland takes the ball. First down.
The rookie L.J. Fort. with the penalty. Dez Bryant has the go-ahead touchdown for Dallas.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Subway Restaurants. Get your own tender, juicy Subway steak melt today. And by Volkswagen. It's not the miles, it's how you live them.
Back at Cowboys Stadium, 6:39 to play here in the fourth quarter. You know who you have to give a little credit to in the second half is Rob Ryan and that Dallas defense, which put the clamps on the Cleveland Browns since the start of the second half.
Yes, they most certainly have.
Richardson for a couple. While we have the opportunity, remind you, get coverage of every game on the go with NFL Mobile. For $5 a month, watch live streaming of every touchdown with NFL Red Zone, as well as NFL Network's 24/7 coverage. Call ** NFL to download or go to NFL.com/mobile to learn more.
It was interesting listening to Rob Ryan talk about his head coach, Jason Garrett. He goes, look, he is a young Bill Belichick who's going to win 3 Super Bowls. This guy is that good.
Whedon over the middle, almost picked off. Anthony Spencer.
Well, back-to-back possessions. And here comes a late flag way after the play is over. Back by the quarterback. What happened back here?
Unsportsmanlike conduct by the defense, number 90, taunting. 15-yard penalty and automatic first down.
That's not smart.
That's Jay Ratliff, the nose tackle. And Jay is having to be talked off the edge here by Jason Hatcher. So that's Ratliff, and well, I guess he's being a little aggressive in standing over and striding over the top. I don't know what he said.
But he just did the Browns a momentary favor.
He most certainly did.
Whedon, deep drop, being chased by Ware, and he had to throw it away.
You're going to take the quarterback to the ground. Again, they get special protection. And if you haven't figured that out yet, you better stop and give it some serious thought. The guy's a quarterback. And what you might be able to do to a running back out in the field of play that isn't going to fly when it's just you, the quarterback, and the referee standing 2 feet away.
And it's the law of the land, and it isn't a secret.
No. But that referee is only 2 feet away, and his only job is to watch what you're doing on top of the court.
2nd and 10. Whedon with time and running out of time and goes down. Loose ball on the ground. Dallas football.
Well, Brandon Whedon on these last 2 possessions has been a turnover waiting to happen. Keep in mind the possession before, he threw it right to Josh Brent. He threw it to Spencer, and now he finally has it knocked away. And the Cleveland Browns are playing to form. Again, we're taking a look downfield. Looks like Cooper found Gordon finds himself a little hole in the middle.
Anthony Spencer, meanwhile, got the hit, forced the fumble, and then fell on the loose football right there. And look at the Cowboys now set up at the Cleveland 18-yard line. Jones trying to turn the corner on the left side, penalty marker down in the backfield.
Lawrence Vickers was out front trying to make a block.
There were 2 holding fouls by the offense on the play. 47 is declined. Number 73 is accepted. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat first down.
That's Bernardo, the center, formerly the right guard. Again, we talked about it earlier. This makeshift Dallas offensive line. Bernardo, the third guy playing center. Phil Costa is still out. And then Ryan Cook, his backup, he's out today. So
and that makeshift line has done better in the second half as well.
Oh, no, they've done better in the second half. They were a huge problem in the first half. They were just getting manhandled. But you're right. They were aided by some pretty smart play calling and a quicker rhythm offense by Jason Garrett and Tony Romo's execution.
Cowboys have come back and scored the last 17 points of this game. Romo on the move and goes down and lost the ball. Covered by the Browns.
Boy, defenders are so good at hacking at the football. And
Frosty Rucker made the hit. Craig Robertson with the recovery.
But it's not just the hit. It's the technique involved in forcing the football away. All right, coming from the backside. All right, there's Rucker. But watch right there. I mean, that's not an accident. That is not an accident. He winds up and just tomahawks down on Tony Romo's right arm and knocks the football away. That technique is taught. They work on it all off season, and that is a great example of how some of that work pays off. Frosty Rucker, it's not just enough to get the sack. He got the sack and the strip and the fumble.
Cleveland gets the football back at its own 35-yard line. Whedon, deep drop, throwing, sideline. Oh, what a catch. What a catch by Greg Little across midfield and into Dallas territory.
And again, another Browns receiver goes up to catch a pass that's not in the right spot. I mean, that is just way behind him, and he's able to go back and get it. Brandon Carr's not able to make a play on the ball. It looked like he got both feet down.
That's an outstanding catch.
Oh, and he's got control of the football. Let's make sure that it doesn't come loose when he goes out of bounds. Looks like he had it.
First down now at the Dallas 48. Whedon pulls it down, throws out the flat, and that's complete to Alex Smith, who's run out of bounds after about a 1-yard pickup.
Well, Dallas was in a good spot up until that fumble by Tony Romo. They had all the momentum. The Cleveland Browns were just, I'm sure, looking up there going, well, here it comes again. And now the Browns have a chance. They've got a chance to do something that they've done very little of over the last years. That's come from behind and win a football game at the end of regulation.
Play clock working again here in the stadium, by the way. Whedon, another deep drop. With time, over the middle and wide open. Inside the 25-yard line is Josh Gordon.
Well, you get a good look at the arm strength of Brandon Whedon. If he's got the time, a little play-action fake. He had a great pocket in front of him, and that time, the ball was right between the numbers. Josh Gordon this time working against the Dallas zone, and the safeties are so deep. You can see both McCray and Sensabaugh still were 5 yards behind the receiver.
Go back to the Brown game, and Richardson right up the middle to the 15. Looks like a pickup of about 8. And that'll make it, make it 7. It'll be 2nd and 3. 3:50 to play in regulation.
And again, this is a whole lot easier play call when you're down to 2nd and 3. Again, this is not a really good red zone offensive team, although today they're 1 out of 2. They're way below that percentage for the regular season.
Richardson again, nowhere to go. Danny McCray, injured earlier, has come back to make a couple of big plays.
Well, you love to see your strong safety making plays in the backfield. That's when you know your run support is up and effective. That's not some defensive tackle that knifes through a block.
Dallas trying to win 2 in a row for the first time all season.
Dallas needs to win about 4 or 5 in a row.
3rd and 3. Whedon throwing, that's complete. Spinning inside the 10 to the 6 is Benjamin Watson. It'll be 1st and goal for Cleveland.
They'll take a look at it. Just a very shallow crossing pattern and a pretty effective pick right there. There was a crossing pattern going the other way by Josh Gordon. And you can see the Dallas defender got cleaned right off. That pattern's been run since the dawn of time in the NFL. Well, you can get the flag for that.
Richardson. Nowhere to go. And that'll bring us to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to play at Cowboys Stadium. Dallas in the lead. Cleveland knocking on the door. Every one of these important to the Dallas Cowboys trying to play catch-up in the NFC East. And as we said earlier, they play 5 of their last 7 games here at home in Cowboys Stadium.
And the Cleveland Browns are playing for something that hard to put a price tag on when you're 2-7. It's called respect. It's called learning how to win. And how do you learn how to win? Well, you know what you do? You win a couple games. And then all of a sudden, you start thinking that you are a winner.
2nd and goal. Richardson. To about the 2.
If you have been a student of this game for a long time, you realize the real deal when you see it. And Trent Richardson, from a running back standpoint, is the real deal.
And by the way, Dallas, a good idea to call a timeout here and conserve some clock.
Yeah.
Greg Gumbel, Dan Deerdorf here at Cowboys Stadium. Those of you just joining us, the Cleveland Browns led 13-0 at halftime. And then in a turnaround in the second half, the Dallas Cowboys came out. A 44-yard field goal by Dan Bailey. Felix Jones, a touchdown run. Tony Romo, a touchdown pass to Dez Bryant. They lead at 17-13, and the Browns have come right back and are at the 1.5-yard line, looking at a 3rd and goal.
You know, now obviously, if they're down by 4 points, and just to say that they didn't get in, and they kicked a field goal, they still have all 3 of their timeouts. They could conceivably kick off. That's a bad. When you're here, when you're in this position, it's touchdown or bust.
Trent Richardson, the deep back. Wheaton gives it to him. He dives and he didn't get there. And decision time now for Pat Shermer.
Well, Richardson is going to try to go airborne, and he is met. And that was a tremendous job by Dan Connor, number 52. He leaps at the same time Richardson does, and he meets him in midair. And Spears and Ratliff and the guys down below did their job.
And now Pat Shermer has to decide whether he's going to take the 3 and go on defense or whether you go for the touchdown here.
Well, that's ultra conservative. Hoping you get the ball back. All Dallas has to do is get 1 first down, and the game is over.
He's going to go for it.
When you're a yard away, you got to go for it. You're 2-7. Let's face it, the Super Bowl isn't on the line for the Cleveland Browns. I think what's at stake for the Cleveland Browns, there's a lot of feel-good involved here if you can stuff it in.
Wheaton going to throw it. Incomplete.
Well, what a terrible pass by Brandon Wheaton throwing. Even if that was caught, it would have been out of bounds. That had no chance of success because he threw the ball off the playing surface. Throwing the ball to Jordan Cameron, but there's no way he could catch that ball at any point. He couldn't have ended up with either of his feet in bounds. That ball was 7 or 8 feet out of bounds. Man, you've got to give yourself a chance. And that was a 0% chance.
That's Cleveland's brand new owner, Jimmy Haslam. Now, Dallas with the ball at their own 1-yard line. Cleveland, all 3 of their timeouts remaining.
Well, they'll get the ball back if they can keep Dallas from getting a first down. But again, they're going to have to get in the end zone somehow.
180!
Felix Jones. barely back to the line of scrimmage at that.
Yeah.
Phil Taylor right in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, and it's not like Dallas is going to be looking to just enforce their will on Cleveland. They've only got 45 yards rushing on the day. They haven't been able to get much of anything going in the running game.
Cleveland uses its first timeout here in the second half. They have 2 remaining.
What would be nice would be to get at least 3 or 4 yards to give Brian Moorman a little room to work out of his own end zone and not have to have a compressed punting game. Jerry Jones is going, man, these guys are 2-7. This wasn't supposed to be this hard. Jerry, if you thought that, which I don't think you did, you haven't been watching the Browns play, because nobody's run the Browns out of the stadium.
180! 1 is good! 180! 1 is good!
Jones again. Same result.
He's still driving. He's still driving.
And a timeout stops the clock with 1.5 minutes to play as
Right.
Cleveland uses its second timeout. You know, that's the first thing Tony Romo told us when we met with him. He said, you look at the Browns on film, and they're tough.
Well, take a look at this now. You know, Dallas will run another play. If they don't get a first down, Cleveland will use their final timeout, and then it's Cleveland's going to get the ball back, obviously, with a fair amount of time left. No timeouts at their disposal, but they'll have plenty of opportunities to make some plays and going down the field.
And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see Tony Romo throw the ball out of his own end zone here, because he is the gunslinger type.
Well, yeah, it better be something unbelievably high percentage, because that you'd be giving, if you were incomplete, you'd be giving Cleveland a timeout.
180!
You'd be giving them a free stoppage of the clock.
They're going to run it.
Yeah.
Felix Jones straight ahead. So Dallas got basically 3 yards and 3 runs. And the Browns used their final timeout, stopping the clock with 1:23 to play in the fourth.
Well, let's take a peek at what's happened here in the second half. Felix Jones, the lone bright spot in the Dallas running game, was able to get it into the end zone. Then Tony Romo on a beautiful pass to Des Bryant. And then Frosty Rucker from behind tomahawks the football away. And then the Browns, they got down to the 1 yard line and attempt to score, throws it out of the field to play. And here goes Moorman without a lot to work with.
And one of the most dangerous punt returners in the history of the game in Josh Cribbs. Cribbs going to get a chance to return this
that's
one.
a low line drive.
40. And tracked down just short of 30, and there is penalty marker.
I think that's a horse collar tackle. This is going to be another 15 yards. Oh boy, oh boy. John Phillips got the right hand. Oh, well, wait a minute. No, he's got the hair. Whoa, wait a minute. The hair is not a horse collar. Does he have the jersey? If he's got the jersey, that's a horse collar. But if
Personal foul, horse collar tackle by the defense, number 89. 15-yard penalty, first down, Cleveland.
Grabbing the hair is
allowed.
Is allowed. Grabbing the hair. And take a look at this. I think his left hand is on the front. I believe he only has the hair of Josh Cribbs. Now the question is whether or not this is reviewable. We're inside 2 minutes, and that would have to be initiated by the replay booth upstairs, and I don't think this is a reviewable play. That's just a judgment call, and that's a bad break for Dallas.
Look at the Browns set up now at the 17-yard line over the middle. Touchdown! Benjamin Watson! How about that for a turnaround?
Well, it gives Dallas a lot of time.
Dallas will have 1:07 and 1 timeout remaining. Watson's second touchdown catch of the day. And Cleveland back on top, looking to make it a 3-point lead. And they do.
There's Ben Watson, number 82. Again, he's just running a simple seam pattern, and he just gets past Danny McCray, the safety, who has no help behind him. And Brandon Whedon just drops it right where he's supposed to. A very uncomplicated, nothing but a straight down seam pattern by Watson, the tight end. And no safety back there in the middle of the field. You see Sensabaugh coming in from the other side, but McCray, he had that deep middle responsibility apparently and just didn't get it done.
Go back to that defensive stand the Browns made inside their 5-yard line just a few moments ago.
Well, there are just a lot of stunned people sitting here in Cowboys Stadium right now.
Now the Cowboys are thinking, at worst, they need a field goal from Dan Bailey, whose long this year is 51. Lance Dunbar is deep. And he'll get a chance to return this one. No, he will not.
You know, on that touchdown pass to Watson, watch Dallas, they're confused defensively. This was after the penalty was enforced to move Cleveland all the way down here. They ultimately did end up getting 11 guys out there, but it was
a circus.
A circus. I think there were 11 guys out there. I was trying to do a quick count. I think there was 11.
Okay, here's Tony Romo, 1:07 on the clock, from his own 20-yard line and 1 timeout at his disposal. Outside, and Witten is out of bounds, short of the 25-yard line, so that'll be a pickup of about 3.
I think Cleveland will concede a lot of 3-yard completions like that to Jason Witten. Dan Bailey's career long is 51 yards.
Cleveland trying to snap an 11-game road losing streak.
Tony Romo needs to move about 50 yards.
Romo throwing, and that's incomplete. Oh, what a collision, and a penalty marker.
There comes a marker. I think T.J. Ward, number 43, the safety, and Kevin Ogletree is down.
Let's see, to call this defenseless receiver.
There's screen, and then between the two of them, screen coming from behind. Boy, the double collision for Kevin Ogletree.
And he is still down.
It appears that he's talking to the training staff, and you know, he took his mouthpiece out. Has the
and the officials are huddled and talking about it at the 40-yard line.
Well, if that penalty against Ward is a personal foul, this is going to put Dallas well into Cleveland territory. But right now, let's worry about Kevin Ogletree and make sure he's okay.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, shot helmet contact by the defense, number 43. That's a 15-yard penalty. There is no charge timeout for the injured player because he was injured by foul. However, there is a charge timeout to Cleveland for that injury. That's their 4th timeout. It does not carry a penalty at this time.
So Buster Skrine is helped off the field right there, number 22 to the left of your screen.
Which now is going to make Cleveland dangerously thin at the corner position. Skrine was the guy coming in for Joe Hayden, who's out of this game. So now we're getting, there's Hayden. Now we're going to get pretty deep into the Browns' depth chart as they try to find enough healthy DBs to play. And Kevin Ogletree is sitting up.
And he is going to get up.
No, good deal.
In his 4th season out of Virginia.
Remember, he started off this season with a great game against the Giants on opening weekend and become a pretty good professional receiver. And I think he demonstrated a little toughness there because he knew that was coming.
Shoulder, forearm, or head to the helmet. It's a 15-yard penalty.
So the line of scrimmage is the 39-yard line. 57 seconds on the clock.
52.
9th defensive penalty on the Browns today. Romo. And threw it behind Lance Dunbar out of the backfield. Second and 10 with 54 seconds to play.
And again, Dallas needs, because that penalty is assessed from the line of scrimmage, Dallas still needs to cover now, a good 32, 35 yards to get into decent field goal range, somewhere in that 50-yard range.
As we said earlier, Dan Bailey's season long is 51.
51 would be about the 33-yard line.
Romo, deep drop, on the move, throwing. Oh, what a catch made at midfield by Miles Austin, and that's a first down.
Boy, he almost got away from Sheldon Brown, but Sheldon Brown was hanging on for dear life.
Romo
trying to keep that timeout in his pocket.
pulls it down, gonna go deep. And a penalty marker down inside the 15-yard line. Sheldon Brown all over Dwayne Harris.
And Dwayne Harris is still on the ground. And a
Pass interference, defense, number 24. The ball is placed in the spot of the foul, and that's an automatic first down.
Sheldon
The player
Brown
is injured as a result of a foul, and there is therefore no charge timeout.
Sheldon
Dallas
Brown
still has one timeout
has
remaining.
no shot defending that ball, and thus he turns around and looks for it.
And he actually hits Dwayne Harris in the head with his forearm, enough to move his head before the ball got there. That was in conjunction with a lot of other contact. Again, I don't think there was anything touchy about that call. I mean, look, he's got a grab. Here comes the left hand that rocks his head before the ball gets there. Yeah, it wasn't a violent blow, but it was enough to, if you're the official behind it, it was enough to jar his head prior to the arrival of football. That's interference.
For the 10th time today, a Cleveland defensive penalty leads to a Dallas first down.
And we have seen a real lack of coverage technique discipline by the defensive backs of the Cleveland Browns, Greg. We've been watching it all day. We've been watching it all day. They've gotten away with some. They've gotten called for a fair number of others. But technically, you've just got to play a cleaner game than what Cleveland has tried to play tonight.
And now, instead of thinking about a tie, Dallas is in a position to think about a win.
Well, they still have a timeout. Jason Witten, where are you?
Dez Bryant.
Dez Bryant, where are my big bodies?
Miles Austin comes to the near side of the field.
52!
23 seconds on the clock.
Jason Witten right here in the slot.
Romo breaking free inside the 10 to about the 9. And a timeout is called.
Take your timeout.
That is the last timeout available to the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, that ball was being waved around out there while Tony, first of all, right there. Oh my gosh, he almost gets it knocked out. John Hughes, watch it. This is John Hughes, I think, coming in from behind. Whoa! If he was able to get a little more force on that downswing as he tried to hit the forearm of Tony Romo, who knows, that might have come popping out of there.
As it is, a 5-yard pickup, 2nd and 5, 16 seconds,
Well,
no timeouts available.
The luxury of 16 seconds is you can run any play you want to run, and still get up to the ball and spike it and stop it. It's 2nd down, so you'd be spiking it on 3rd down to stop the clock. I think you could pretty much run anything you want to.
Romo with a wealth of talented receivers.
And Tony just threw that away.
12 seconds. It'll be 3rd and 5.
Well, now the play has to be in the end zone, because you can't come up short of the end zone and trust that you could get up and spike the ball in a matter of 12 seconds. And obviously you can't spike the ball because it's going to be 4th down, and that would be a most embarrassing moment. So this has got to be some type of a play into the end zone, and we'll high percentage fade or something like that.
Play clock down to 6, 5, and counter.
How did he
Didn't get it off.
That was delay of game. Romo about a second late getting that football snapped.
Back it up 5 and do it again.
Delay of game, offense. It's a 5-yard penalty. It's 3rd down.
Could you see that as an advantage for a receiver with a little more room to operate, Dan?
Well, I don't think he did it on purpose.
No.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't do anything basically to your field goal chances. Those 5 yards, it shouldn't be a deal breaker.
3rd and 10. Romo pulls it down, looks the other way, and just flips it. Looked like it slipped out of his hand as he pumped it to the left.
And on comes the field goal attempt. And again, you almost have nowhere to go, because the Browns only are going to play one pattern. They're only going to play back into the end zone, and the Cowboys sent 3 receivers. 2 of them were doubled up. You had 1 single clear over here to the right, and that's really nowhere to go with it.
So this will be Dan Bailey from 32 yards out for the tie. He hit from 44 earlier. The kick is on its way and good.
Well, there's 2 seconds left on the clock, so we're going to see an attempted kickoff return.
The Cowboys have been a different team in the second half, but they have been greatly assisted by penalties on the part of the Cleveland Browns today.
Yes, they have. And again, a dozen penalties on Pat Shurmur's team. The vast majority of them on defense, as Greg told you earlier. How many of those extended drives?
10 of them resulted in first downs.
And 15 yards on this pass. You know, we had, what did we had an interference penalty. We had an unnecessary roughness penalty. You made it a whole lot easier for the Cowboys to get into field goal range.
And I think we'd all be shocked if the Cowboys kick this anywhere near Josh Cribbs.
Oh no, this will be a knuckleball. This will bounce many times.
Pretty much a ground ball to short.
Yeah.
And wrapped up at about the 40-yard line is Eric Hagg.
Well, let's play a little overtime football.
Shall we?
Darn right.
Well, two entirely different halves of football here. The Cleveland Browns own the first half. The Dallas Cowboys came roaring back in the second half. But
And then just in the last 5 or 6 minutes, it looked like the Browns, it looked like the Cowboys had it won. Then the Romo fumble. Then it appeared that the Browns had it won. And then Dallas, you know, with not much time left at all, they come down and they force overtime. That psychologically, the Browns had it put away and yet didn't put it away.
So we'll get the coin toss at midfield.
We will now start an overtime period. We will go no longer than 15 minutes. If it's still tied at the end of the first period, the game will be a tie. The first team to score a touchdown or a safety wins the game. If the first team scores a field goal, the other team will have an opportunity to possess the ball. Cleveland, it's your choice. What's your call? Heads. Heads is the call. Heads is the call. It is tails. Dallas is the one that toss. You wish to receive. Which direction? Let's switch it around then. Thank you. Dallas
So the
will receive on
Cowboys,
this end.
with their hands on the football first in overtime when we come back to Cowboy Stadium. Here we go, 15 minutes on the clock. A touchdown or a safety on the first possession wins the game. If we are tied after each team has possessed the ball, then the next score wins it. And there will be no challenge flags thrown in overtime. Each team with 2 timeouts. Tony Romo, 18 for 23 in the second half. After a less than stellar first half, he came out and showed what he's made of. That's Lance Dunbar deep for the kick, upcoming from Phil Dawson, who has been pretty steady, keeping the Cowboys from running it out of the end zone today.
Well, I think what you mentioned about Romo, Greg, is even more impressive considering that he didn't have the support of much in the way of a running game at all.
We are underway in overtime. And another terrific kick by Dawson. And the Cowboys will begin at their own 20-yard line.
Well, right now, the one piece of bad news for the Browns, I believe Buster Skrine is still in the locker room being evaluated with his injury. They are dangerously thin at the corner position.
Trevin Wade is out there,
a rookie,
the 7th-round pick out of Arizona.
Yeah.
And Sheldon Brown is
53.
And
Johnson Botamosi is also out.
A rookie
out there.
What is that?
Romo throwing far side. That is complete and out of bounds to Dwayne Harris.
Well, that's the one veteran the Browns still have on the field out there at the corner position, Sheldon Brown, making that play. But right now, you know, Dallas has had a lot of success going vertical down the field by forcing the Cleveland Browns to commit penalties. You know, moving the football is moving the football, whether it's by penalty or whether it's by a completed pass.
Middle. What is that?
Same Dez Bryant. That's enough for a first down.
And that's the kind of stuff I was talking about in the first half with Dez Bryant, Greg. Normally, he is a tough guy to get to the ground. You know, we were talking about that time when he stepped out of bounds in the first half rather than force the issue. But he's a big, strong guy. And Sheldon Brown is finding out that if I'm just going to wrestle his shoulder pads, I'm outmanned. 6'2", 220 with just tremendous natural strength.
Yellow 80.
Game-breaking ability.
Hey, 53's the mic. 53. Jason, you're off 52. White 80.
Touchdown wins the game. Romo going down back at the 30-yard line. Craig Robertson, who has had a heck of a game on defense for the Cleveland Browns.
Again, just a free agent from North Texas last year. And he's going to come on a little stunt right up the middle. And he is unblocked. And that Tony Romo, just you can see, he's actually being grabbed a little bit. Doug Free trying to hold him enough to keep him away from his quarterback, but can't do it. Boy, that really complicates things now. 2nd and 20.
7 times Romo has been sacked today. 2nd and 20. Romo throwing this side of the field. There's Dez Bryant, and he's out of bounds short of the 40.
Just looking at the number of rookies having to play now for the Cleveland Browns, you'd have to think there's a real advantage. If the offensive line of the Cowboys can give Romo enough protection, that's the key. You mentioned 7 sacks. That's an embarrassing day to have your quarterback dropped 7 different times officially on sacks.
How about those numbers for Dez Bryant? 12 catches, 145 yards, and a touchdown.
And we're not done yet.
3rd and 12. Romo on the slant, got his man in, enough for the first down. At midfield, Miles Austin.
Oh, Miles Austin just gets across midfield just enough to move the chains. And again, he's working against a rookie, and Botamosi has given him a lot of room, as you would expect a rookie to do. I'm telling you right now, a double move on one of these young guys could be a sweet deal. A little slant and go or something like that.
White 80. 187.
Romo gonna go deep for Austin. Incomplete.
Well, Botamosi again in coverage, and the rookie from Stanford ends up running right with him. You know, he's 10 yards off, and he did give a little stutter step right there. But then Austin, for some reason, instead of going into a full sprint, it looked like Miles Austin did a stutter step of his own. Kind of allowed Botamosi to catch up.
52. 52. Bang. 52. Down tight.
2nd and 10. Romo throwing this side, complete to Harris.
I just do that over and over and over again. Just the quick little hitch until you force the Browns to tighten up their coverage. If they're just going to give you 6, 7, 8 yards at a time, I wouldn't be greedy for too much more than taking that over and over.
Leaves Romo with a 3rd and 2.
53.
11 overtime games in the NFL this season. This is the 3rd one today. On 3rd and 2, Romo throws the quick slant again, and that's incomplete for Bryant.
Well, the rook got in there. It looked like he timed it pretty darn well on Dez Bryant. There, he did. He timed it. You know, Bryant turns around, but I think in that situation, that's textbook from a corner getting in there. He timed that exactly spot on.
And now, Ryan Morman kicking it away to Josh Cribbs. And he will aim this one for the sideline and flips it out of bounds. They will spot this at the 11-yard line. That's where Cleveland will start. We go to New York. JB and Coach Bill Cowher.
Coach capitalized on a penalty.
It's an interference penalty. Sets up this Juan Carter 1-yard touchdown run. Indy jumps out of New England 7-0.
Most of you will see this game at the conclusion of yours. Back to Greg Gumbel and Dan Dierdorf.
All right, guys, you know those Indianapolis Colts are a terrific story this year, aren't they?
Unbelievable. And this is even without Chuck Pagano's being ill. And now we are in true sudden death football right now. Each team has had the opportunity to possess the football, so it's wide open now. The first score wins this game.
And if they get him in range, Phil Dawson, one of the better long-range kickers in the league. Trent Richardson, left side. Jay Ratliff cut that one off.
You know, the Cleveland Browns, they are what they are, and they've got, even in this scenario, this situation, they've got to still attempt to run the football. You'd like to run it a little more effectively than that. Now the advantage flips to Rob Ryan and the Cowboys.
On 2nd and 10, Whedon had to throw that one away. Richardson was covered out here in the flat by Bruce Carter, number 54.
Well, if you're going to put a guy out in space with Trent Richardson, Rob Ryan's going to send Bruce Carter. That would be his ideal matchup. You know, on 3rd down here in this stadium, the Cowboys put their message boards and the big thing up top here into these. It's almost a strobe.
It's a disco.
I'm sure they've had it cleared with the NFL, but it's a little disorienting.
3rd and 10. Whedon throwing, and that is complete out across the 15 to the 17. Josh Gordon, but that will be well short of a first down. And the Cowboys figure to gain on the exchange of punts.
Well, Joe Thomas that time did a good job of riding DeMarcus Ware right around his quarterback, and it ended up being a completion, but that was well executed by the Cowboys defensively. They gave up that soft little pass, made the tackle, and forced the punt.
Dwayne Harris is deep. Harris. He leads the tackler at the 33, going to go back the other way, looking for lane room, gets a block. 40. Midfield. Back into Cleveland territory at about the 47-yard line.
Boy, Greg, a lot of discipline by the Dallas blockers, because when you see a guy reverse field like that, 9 out of 10 times there's a block in the back, because all of a sudden the guy you're going to block has changed directions to chase the ball carrier. And a lot of discipline by these Dallas blockers of pulling up and not drawing the flag.
Dwayne Harris returned to punt 78 yards last week for a touchdown against Philadelphia. He returns this one 20 yards.
53.
And here's Romo at the Cleveland 48.
Well, looks like press coverage up here on the corners now.
Here comes the blitz. Romo throwing right side, complete to Austin. Austin out of bounds, just short of the first down marker at the 39.
Well, again, that's Sheldon Brown, the 11-year corner, and Miles Austin does a good job of selling him on the deep route, and by the time Brown reacts back, easy completion. That was a good job by Miles Austin of selling the fact that he was running a deeper pattern.
180!
2nd and 1. Dunbar. And the Cowboys move ever closer to a game-winning field goal.
Well, they're right there now at what would be the outer limits of Bailey's. But let's be realistic. When a guy, a 51-yarder is his career long, I think you'd like to get him a little closer.
52.
First down at the 32.
180! 187!
Romo on the slant. He's got his man. No, incomplete.
Well, is that
It is ruled incomplete. Looked like Austin had it and lost it.
It did. He took a step or two. Let's see it. There it is. One. Yeah, he never does put the ball away. You could see he's having trouble securing the football. He goes to get it. It comes loose. He really never truly had possession of the football. That worked out favorably for Jason Garrett and the Cowboys. Keep in mind there are no challenges in overtime. It's all initiated by the booth upstairs.
And Cleveland uses a timeout here with 8:35 left in overtime.
Welcome back to Dallas, everybody. This play is under review. It just doesn't appear that Miles Austin ever completely secures the football. He's bobbling it before Sheldon Brown knocks it away. Yeah, there's no question he took several steps, but he's trying to secure the football.
Here's Ed Hockley.
Change in the timeouts. There is a timeout charged on that play. And the ruling on the field stands, although, as I said, it's not a reviewable play. I didn't review it.
I didn't review it. You were under the hood, Ed. He goes to the hood saying it's under review, then comes out and says it's not under review. He wasn't reviewing it. Okay.
Wow.
Even Ed had to laugh at that explanation.
So Cleveland is charged with a timeout that it took. 2nd and 10. But I agree with you. The end result is the correct one, Dan.
No, it was an incomplete pass. In my estimation, it wasn't even close. He never secured the ball.
2nd and 10. Romo on the slant. And Austin makes that catch just inside the 25-yard line.
Oh, what a great job by Romo. And Tony, he's getting pressure right up the middle. That is a sensational catch by Miles Austin. Talk about going down and picking it off the ground. And not only that, but Sheldon Brown gets his hands on his forearms. How he doesn't knock that ball away, I don't know.
58 receiving yards in the second half in overtime for Austin. He had 0 in the first.
Oh, now we're going to review that. Ed Hockley is now on direction from above, heading to the booth. Let's see if we can find at any time this ball touches the ground.
Not from that angle.
Can't see anything from that angle. Let's look from here. The ball clearly comes loose, and the question is whether or not he cradled it with his forearm and kept it off the field.
And Jerry Jones watching the replays too.
Al Jury is the replay official upstairs. I haven't seen a definitive look of the ball on the ground, not under Miles Austin's control.
Don't see anything that Ed Hockley could overturn.
I mean, keep in mind, this was ruled a completed pass on the field. And I think in this situation, the fact that it was ruled a completed pass is very critical, because he's got to see something to overturn it.
Another look.
From that angle, I mean, every angle I've seen, there's no question
the ruling on the field stands as called.
Yeah.
The pass is complete.
There's no question that the ball separated from the chest of Miles Austin, but it looked like he got it back under control with his right forearm.
Yeah, no evidence that it hit the ground.
None whatsoever.
3rd and 2 for the Cowboys.
And that look on Trent Richardson's face is, when you've had this happen to you before, it's almost that, are you kidding me? What do we have to do?
Next points on the board
Yellow 80.
wins the game.
White 80!
Cleveland is up in every gap. Here they come.
Dunbar to the 21 and a first down.
Well, it's not because Cleveland didn't commit some guys to the line of scrimmage. They got the whole team up there. And this time, a good surge, a good block up front there by the guys on the Dallas offensive line. Dockery got in there. Bernardo, Livings, those guys did a pretty decent job of getting the Browns out of the way.
And if you're Jason Garrett, at what point do you start to say, okay, let's kick it from here?
I'm not to that point yet.
Yellow 80!
Now, where Garrett is, I don't know.
Yellow 80! Kill, kill, kill! Okay, come on.
And Romo calls a timeout before the play clock expires. 6:54 to play in overtime. You're looking at Dan Bailey, who's 2 out of 2 for his career in overtime. Both of those last season.
You'd be looking at about a 38 or 39-yard field goal. I'm not sure I put that in the chip shot category. With it being 1st and 10, I'd try to get closer.
Doubleheader games coming up next year on CBS. Indy at New England, the Chargers at Denver. Next score wins here in Dallas.
White 80!
Vickers and Dunbar in the backfield on first down. This is Dunbar to the 20. Let's get you back to New York. JB and the coach.
Jacksonville continuing to play well.
Yeah, Josh Scobie's going to kick this field goal after an opening field goal by Houston, and then he gets intercepted right here. Jacksonville got the ball back, but they had to turn it over on downs. There's 2:30 to go in the game. Houston's ball, game is tied.
Back and forth it goes. Greg and Dan.
All right, guys, and Jason Garrett has made the call here on 2nd and 9. He will get this one away from 38 yards out to win it. On its way. And good. The Dallas Cowboys improved to 5-5. The Browns have lost 12 straight on the road. Our final 23-20 up next. Doubleheader action here on CBS. For Dan Deerdorf, Greg Gumbel. So long from Dallas. You've been watching the NFL on CBS.